Hi. I was waiting for a smooth intro into me talking to the people, and somebody was talking on Zoom. So, hello everybody. Welcome to this Halloween thing that is now, I guess, a bit of a tradition. Does two things make a tradition? We'll see. So there's two different people out there that are watching this right now. There's people who saw last year's live stream and kind of know what this whole thing is, and there's those of you who are totally lost and have no idea what's going on. So basically, long story short, last year it was the pandemic. Halloween came around and things were still pretty locked down. So I was like, hey, why don't we do a little thing since people can't really go out and party and do the things that they normally do? Why don't we do a little live stream and we can read an old ghost story that I wrote a long time ago. And you guys liked it and it was a pretty well received. So I thought, you know what, why don't we make a tradition out of this? Actually, I was going to do one before now, but I got busy and then life happened. So it's been a year now. So now it's Halloween and we're doing it again. So as some of you may know, let me go into the chat real quick. I just got to check the chat just in case there's something totally wrong. Is everybody hearing me? Is everybody good? There's like a 30-second delay, so I'm kind of just checking out the chat here. Can I get some thumbs up in the chat? Sometimes I'll do a live stream and I'll just start talking and then realize that people can't hear me or there's some problem, and then it's like, yeah, I got to sit back and wait. So, hiya from Pickles. Everybody, Pickle says hi. All good here? Okay, we're good. Cool. All right. So yeah, back in the day, I was a bit of a filmmaker and a screenwriter. I did a lot of screenplays and stuff. And so I've just got like a whole bunch of old screenplays laying around. Last year, I chose a ghost story to, seem to make sense for Halloween. This year, it's more of a sort of sci-fi thing. I've seen some people in the chat kind of saying like, ooh, something spooky. I wouldn't call it spooky. It's kind of more of a quirky period comedy kind of thing with some sci-fi elements to it. But it is based on a true story of a town here in Texas. It's not too far away from where I live. And yeah, and the story goes that in 1897, a UFO crash landed in this town. And if you go there to this day, there is a historical marker up in the cemetery. Part of the story is that the alien was buried in the cemetery. So yeah, that's just like a big part of the town, and it's a big part of like UFO lore. And, so this is just kind of a fun homage to all that, I suppose. But anyway, I got some more stuff that I'm going to talk about here in a second. It's actually really long. I'm going to make that clear right up front. This is way longer than the one from last year. So, get comfy. This is going to go a little bit. But also it means I need to kind of move things along because I don't want to keep you guys here all night. So let's get to introducing our cast and find out what my dog is destroying. Hang on. Hey, what are you doing? We made it. We made it 3 minutes. 3 whole minutes. It's a miracle. All right. So, I'm just going to switch over and we're going to see the whole cast and I will introduce them just real quick. So we have... Boom. Okay. Starting down at the bottom, if you've been following this channel for a while, you know him. He's the editor of this whole shebang. He spends probably as much time, if not more, on this channel than I do. I absolutely could not do it without him. He's my favorite person in the world, Nick Turnbow. I have a little button I'm pressing. It makes that. Above him to the right, you know him from last year. Nick and Kareem both did this last year. He's the returning champion, also a quality filmmaker and screenwriter himself, Mr. Kareem Gray. It's a golf clap. Right, just like giving like a very, very polite claps for each other. Right there in the middle, we got the center square, the Paul Lind of the day. You got to live up. You got a lot to live up to if you're going to be Paul Lind. I made a movie in the early 2000s. I did the festival run with it maybe about 2005. This is where I met this guy. Twice, I believe. We had 2 different festivals that we happened to go to. He had his own film there. He's made a few films since, and I became a YouTuber. So he's super talented, and he's an old friend of mine. My favorite person in the world, Bevan Bell. Pressing a button there. Bevan is going to be playing a 17-year-old today. Yeah, and I know you usually don't go any younger than 19, but you're going to stretch today. To the left of Bevan is one of my oldest and dearest friends in the world. I have babysat his kids, which is probably not the best decision on your part, but they survived. So what can you do? Yeah, exactly. We have worked together in various jobs and horrible people, under horrible people. We have made movies together for a really long time. My favorite person in the world, Mark Rouse. Thank you. Nobody can tell I'm pressing a button here. Of course, I keep saying I'm pressing a button, so that doesn't help. So to my... What is that, right? It's opposite for me. I'm screwed up. Another person on my team who makes this whole thing possible and has been an amazing contributor, and she helps kind of keep everything going. She's my executive assistant. She is also... we're seeing a... we're hearing noises come through. She's also a voiceover artist herself. Right?
Yes.
For anime, yes.
I was tagged. If you see this, the guests are not audible. They cannot hear us.
Of course. How about now?
Hi.
Hi.
Hey,
Hello?
you hear us?
There you go.
You know, I just want to make sure I have some consistency in my live streams. I don't think people would know how to handle it if I just got everything right the first time. Anyway, this is Kimmy Britt.
Hello. I'm
Applause.
thanking the person who let us know.
And thank you for letting me know that. And last but not least, we have a celebrity guest, guys. This channel is getting big time. So, I don't know when my giggity, I don't know. So this is somebody who reached out to me on Instagram, and I didn't really know who she was, and then I found out who she was, and I was like, oh my god, she's a Tony Award winner, a Grammy nominee, an amazing vocalist and actress, and she stars as Miss Audrey on the Snowpiercer TV show on TNT, Lena Hall. Yay! Thank you for joining.
I love your channel, Joe.
Oh.
You're an okay guy, too.
Okay, so I'm going to be dealing with sound issues all night, apparently, everybody. I'm just letting you know that, too. If you hear a little scratchiness, I'll be trying to get rid of it. So, okay, so we got everybody up on here. I want to thank you guys all for being here and doing this. I want to let everybody in the live chat know I'm not going to really be able to react because I'm going to be reading this script and kind of involved in that. But super chats will be going toward the Team C's campaign. Their goal is to rid the ocean of 30 million pounds of ocean trash, and so every dollar that goes to it takes another pound out of the ocean, which is really cool. So I'm going to be donating super chats to that, and obviously you can probably see that at the bottom of the frame there. But what else? There is a Spotify playlist linked in the description of this thing. So it's like it's a playlist of music that, like, if I had a chance to make this movie, I would want to put these songs in it. Some of them were just kind of like had inspired ideas for different scenes and whatnot, and others I thought I would see them in my head. I would play them on this, but it would be totally demonetized, and we would get no trash out of the ocean. So let's get the trash out, and you can just go listen to the Spotify playlist. So I guess with that, I kind of want to just jump into it. I'll be like throwing in little asides and tossing in some ideas and stuff, some thoughts as we go along, but I'll be narrating it. Everybody here is going to be reading multiple characters. So try to follow along. It shouldn't be too hard, but just kind of think of it like a fun little radio play, and just just go ahead and get cozy, as my friend Isaac Arthur would say. Get a snack and a drink, and let's jump into the world of Aurora with a little cheers to the screenwriting gods. Like I'm going to be able to drink this or something. You guys ready? Any last words?
Chicken.
Okay, for a second there, I was like, can we hear?
Let's rock.
Okay, just really quick. Can people hear like a scratchy thing going on?
Nope.
I'm asking in the live chat. Can you guys? Is it scratchy when people are talking?
Check. 1, 2, check. Test, testicles.
Sibilance. She's done this
You
before.
want to just give us a mic check for every character just to make sure?
Hello. Oh, my mother-in-law is calling me.
Good evening.
Hello.
Okay, so it's not
No
scratchy for you
scratching.
guys. Okay, then it's just on my end.
Not scratchy.
All right, well, cool. I won't worry about it then. One less thing to worry about.
Try turning it on.
Oh, just real quick. Also, one last little thing. I'd set the... There's lots of no's flying by. That's good. I set the live chat to subscribers only, just to kind of keep out. There's been a lot of spam issues on YouTube lately, so just to keep out the bots and the spam and whatnot. If you are watching and you're not a subscriber and you want to contribute to the live chat, I swear I'm not like fishing for subscribers here or anything. You can subscribe and unsubscribe later. It's fine, but I'm just trying to keep all the spam out. There's a problem with that these days. Okay. And you know what? I'm going to turn off these lights because they get pretty hot, but I still look okay, right?
You look spooky.
Yeah, spooky. It's Halloween. All right. I'm just making sure everything's set up one more time. One little thing. Sorry, let me just turn off my little messages thing so you don't get pinged. You know, stuff I should have done before I went live. Okay.
That's how you know it's live, though.
All right, so super over black. So for those who don't really know what screenwriting terminology is, a super is like a superimposed text. So it's text on screen, basically. So text on screen over black. This actually happened. Fade in on exterior above Aurora day. Stillness envelops the tiny town of 1897 Aurora, which consists of only a strip of wooden buildings along one main dirt thoroughfare surrounded by houses in the plains. Another super as we crane down. So you got this like high angle shot of the town and it's like going down. It says Aurora, Texas, 1897. A tall oak stands next to the main road with a small gathering of people behind it. We continue down into the tree, branches and leaves passing in front of us. More supers appear. Population, 40 less than last year due to spotted fever. Then 74 less than last year due to failed crops. We keep going down through the tree and we get to a branch that has a rope tied around it. And we follow the rope down and we see that it leads down to a noose tied around an elderly bearded man's neck. One more super, which leaves 278. We keep going down to the man. We get to his feet. He's standing on a chair. He kicks the chair away and the feet swing above the ground. The super changes, 277. Back on the branch, the knot quickly comes undone and the man crashes to the ground, still alive. And the super changes again, 278. That's one of my favorite openings to any of the scripts I've ever done. It's just... I'm good at this. Okay. So he falls to the ground. Off to the side, a rousing cheer sounds from a small crowd of mostly men. They begin exchanging money and settling bets. Some are shaking their heads, some celebrating. Included in the group are... Hang on a second. I hear my dog chewing on something. I just got to make sure it's not like... All right, it's the right thing. Sorry. All right, so we got... So you got this old man, he's trying to hang himself, he falls to the ground, everybody starts cheering and exchanging money. They were all betting on whether or not this guy was going to succeed at killing himself. So we have S.E. Hayden, 43, a meek-looking man with a large mustache. He's making money this time around. Angus Kelly, 35, a strong, rough-looking man with baby eyes. Another man tries to get money from him, but he insists he wasn't betting in a thick Irish accent. Roy Black, 32, the deputy sheriff in town, always wears the badge, hands always on his hips, large jowls, never smiles, just eyeing the crowd. He's like that kind of cop guy. And Chester Lidd, 60, the town sheriff. He steps away from the crowd and leans down to the old man, still lying dazed on the ground.
You all right there, Juno?
Juno Kennedy, 80 and bearded, looks up in a drunken stupor.
What the hell happened?
Chester looks up at the tree limb that he fell from.
Didn't hold.
Juno moans disappointed, and Chester helps him stand.
Oh.
Come on. Maybe next time.
Roy sees him standing and then turns back to the crowd.
All right, folks. Let's get where you're going. Reverend Starks is waiting.
The crowd slowly disperses. Interior church day. Reverend Starks, a 60-ish guy, sits behind the altar, eyes red and watery. He looks out onto the congregation, mostly women fanning themselves. He checks his watch. The piano player plays on, shaking her sore wrists when she has a chance, since they've been sitting there waiting because all these people are like hanging around to see if Juno kills himself. Included in the congregation are Emma Whitman, 55, with her elderly mother. She's a large woman with a big mole on her cheek. She looks bitter. Sarah Jameson, 29, very tall, beautiful woman. She keeps the kids in the corner at the back, and she's suited for it as the town school teacher. William and Cyrus Hayden, 13 and 16, Essie's two sons. We saw Essie Hayden just a minute ago. This is his sons. William is crippled from the waist down. Cyrus is blind. So William's like drumming on his useless legs. Cyrus fumbles over with his hand to stop him. And while the room waits, fanning themselves with their Bibles, they're all just kind of waiting for this thing to get on. All right, so back outside. We're outside of a house. Day. A woman and her daughter walk out of the house. The woman's angry at her husband, who follows in an undershirt and jeans. And the husband's like, I'll go next week, okay? And she's like, forget it. And he's like, I can't just leave him here. So she's trying to get him to go to church, and he's trying to find a way to get out of going to church. So he points across the yard to Jeff Spencer, 17. He's working on the man's mechanical lawnmower. Jeff's an intelligent-looking, decently built young man with unruly hair. He toys with the mower and looks out onto the street. In the street, we see... There's just a lot of exposition here, right? It's just showing all these... This is just where we introduce all like 1,000 different characters. So, in the street, there's Susan Anna Reed, 19, tomboyish but a beautiful girl, walking with her fiance Herb, 23, a blonde burly type. They both look very depressed as they walk hand in hand to church. Jeff watches them pass, thoughtful. He's kind of like watching them. And the husband breaks his trance. How long you been done? So Jeff kind of snaps out of it, and he puts the screwdriver in his pocket.
About 10 minutes.
Thanks for holding out on me. Here. He hands him a beer. Jeff takes it and walks inside with him, taking glances back at Susan Anna, and the husband's like, how are you so good with machines? So Jeff is basically like the town genius. He can just see anything mechanical, and he can figure out how it works. He's just good at that kind of thing. So interior church day. Reverend Stark's getting impatient. He squints at the door through red, watery eyes. A man walks in the back and shakes his head at the Reverend. Reverend nods back, so he's like telling him that it's over, that Juno didn't kill himself. Anyway. So the Reverend pulls a small vial of fluid and an eyedropper, putting a drop in each eye. This never comes up again. He's got allergies. I don't know why. I just felt like putting that in there. So all the men from the town square come walking in the church. Hayden sits next to his sons. Angus kind of genuflects before he sits, to the amusement of the people across the aisle, because he's Irish and Catholic and they don't know what that is. Roy walks in and smiles at Sarah as he removes his hat. She smiles back. Susan Anna and Herb enter and sit together amidst her 7 little sisters, still all upset and depressed. So Reverend Stark stands up at the podium as things settle down, and he gestures to the piano player, who finally stops playing and rubs her hands.
Let us pray.
Heads bow.
Lord.
He stands there for a long beat, searching for the right things to say. Eventually, a few eyes look up and kind of wait for him to go on.
We need a miracle.
Amen.
The whole congregation says, Amen.
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 Amen. And also with you.
And with you.
I've heard that said before.
And with your spirit.
And with your spirit. Oh, great. We're in a John Mulaney routine now. Cool. All right. So interior watering hole day. So the watering hole is the local bar. Inside the local bar, many of the townspeople gather around and chat. Exterior watering hole day. So sitting outside is the bartender Lyle. 40 is a somewhat balding man with a scar across his cheek. He sits out front with a few others, constantly singing. Lyle's a fun character. I like Lyle. So Judge Proctor, late 50s, a rotund man whose black hat never leaves his head, approaches.
Judge Proctor, how'd you do?
Afternoon, Lyle. You do know you can't sell alcohol on a Sunday.
Judge, we ain't open for business. We're just open.
And if someone were to want a little brandy?
I suppose we could open that as well.
The judge tosses him a coin.
Take care of me.
So Lyle walks in whistling with the judge right behind. See, all these accents make me want to do the narration in a little bit of a Texas accent. Got to get in the spirit.
But
Interior watering hole day, so they just walk in. Lyle walks around the bar.
I've been sitting out front, so it don't look so bad.
I doubt Sheriff Lids would make a fuss.
I'm not worried about him. It's a hot-headed deputy of his.
Smart man.
He walks to a table and joins some men, and then at the door of the bar, Angus walks in, bumping into an angry man who purposely got in his way. Watch it, Patty.
Very sorry, sir.
You better watch where you're going.
Oi, we'll do you one better, and you watch where you're going.
So Angus continues on to the bar where Lyle is waiting. He calls to him in his own terrible Irish accent.
Morning, Mick.
Could you try to call me Angus once?
Mick Angus?
Close enough.
I name your poison, friend.
Not today. Just some water if you would.
So Lyle gets the water, then Angus looks down at the end of the bar where Juno sits alone, shot glass and whiskey bottle in his face. Angus kind of glances around and then, looks back at this guy who's kind of sitting off by himself. Give me 1 second. My dog is eating my chair. Excuse me.
Again, that's how you know it's live.
No. I was recording a video the other day, and the little lever at the bottom that raises and lowers the chair, she just realized, like, wow, that's a great little chew toy. And I kept hearing her crunching on something just now. It was my chair. Cool. This is professional. Okay. So we're just at the bar. Lyle sees Juno sitting off by himself, and he's like kind of contemplating wanting to go over and talk to him. So now we jump outside. In a tree in the middle of the day, Jeff sits in the tree reading the book 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, and he looks across the street. Outside the Reed house, a flock of 7 young girls run out of the house to the street where Susan, Anna, and Herb are saying goodbye. And next to them are 2 horses with a friend on one, so Herb is leaving town. The girls hug Herb and tell him goodbye, and Susan Anna grins as they hug him.
All right, y'all going back inside. Go on back now.
So eventually they all walk away, and then he smiles and waves to them. Susan Anna turns back to him.
Well, give me your address as soon as you get to Dallas so I can write you.
I promise. You sure you can't come?
Herb, you know my mama wouldn't go for that. We're not married yet. Besides, she needs me here.
I know. Well, as soon as I get things settled out there, let's see what happens. See what we can do about that.
I think that's your cue.
Oh, his friend cleared his throat, so she says, I think that's your cue. So he lets go of her and then gets his things together and jumps on the horse.
Listen here, you'll see me a lot sooner than you think. Get up.
I hope so. I love you.
You too. Bye.
He didn't say I love you back.
Scoundrel.
So they start off down the road. Soon as Susan Anna waves to him tearfully. Her younger sister walks up from behind her and grabs her hand. She immediately hides her tears.
Come on, let's go inside.
And then they walk in. So across the street, Jeff kind of was watching that, and then he goes back to his book. Exterior main town street. The day. William and Cyrus Hayden are walking down the street. Okay, so since Cyrus is blind and William is crippled, they get around by Cyrus carrying him around on his back in sort of a backpack of sorts. And William feeds them directions. They're symbiotic in a way, each kind of dependent on the other to get around.
I wonder what the rock skipping record is.
You did not skip it 20 times. It was barely over 10. I heard it.
Oh, what do you know what you're hearing? You can't even see it. Right to.
Oh, sorry, I missed one. Cyrus is walking directly towards a large horse manure, and William says right to, and then Cyrus takes 2 steps to a right direction and passes by it flawlessly, gets right back on course. So they've been doing this a while.
Well, even if you dare do it, your only witness is a blind guy. No one would believe you. Aren't we close?
10 o'clock.
Cyrus turns perfectly toward the watering hole. Inside the watering hole, Day, S.E. Hayden sits at a bar laughing with a friend. The friend's like, "No, I don't believe it."
Swear to God, to her waist. I heard they weighed 20 pounds apiece.
Lyle yells from the door with William and Cyrus waiting for him.
Hayden, your sons are out here.
Hayden gets up. His friend is like, "She have any sisters?"
No, but she got a son, 7 feet tall.
They're talking about boobs. Okay. William or S.E. Hayden is a storyteller. He likes to tell tall tales and whatnot. So the man laughs after he says that, and S.E. gets up and leaves the room. We next go to. Oh, by the way, just really quick. So a lot of the characters in this story are based off of real people that really existed in Aurora during this time and are like part of the story. So S.E. Hayden is definitely one of those. So yeah, he leaves the room, and then we go to a next table where Judge Proctor is stuck with YT and Cedric, 2 late 20s inbred rednecks wearing busted up coveralls.
Am I still doing Cedric? That's a yes? Okay.
Who had Cedric?
No.
No?
I thought you put me on Cedric.
Okay, good. Go.
Okay. And, all right, here we go. Cedric. You going to read the slug lines or no?
I just did that.
All right.
So they're sitting at a table with the judge.
Right. The man laughs.
What is happening right now?
Do you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, Cedric. I'll read Cedric. Okay. You know, Judge, even though you threw us in jail, I think you're a good man.
Good man.
Well, I think you're good boys if you can just stay out of trouble.
Oh, I don't mean no trouble. Oh, none at all, Judge. I ain't had work in over about a year. Gotta get by somehow.
Get by somehow.
Well, times are hard, I know.
Up at the bar, Angus is still looking at Juno all by himself. He glances over several times before finally walking over and sitting next to him. Juno barely acknowledges him.
Sorry to hear you didn't die this morning, Juno. I know you had your heart set on it.
Oh, he blows him off with a very slurred speech.
What do you know about it? About it anything?
Me papa used to say, why would somebody prefer death to life? Who said that death was a picnic?
Juno never answers. Angus looks down the bar where Lyle and some others are laughing at him. Finally, Angus just kind of gives up and slinks away when Juno stops him.
My daddy fought the Mexicans. San Jacinto, damn good soldier. Took a swing at Santa Anna himself. I was told I'd never measure up to him. Never. Always trying to beat my old man. But never could. We both went off to fight the North, 62. But he went in the West and me to the East. I came back. He did. My mama gave me his army cap. Still have it. Today. Proudest moment of my life.
Angus looks confused. He can't believe Juno's actually talking to him.
I finally beat this son of a bitch. He died, and I survived. But I ain't done a damn thing since. He died in battle. He died in battle like a man. And here I just Wasted my life. The son of a bitch still won. Oh, hell.
That's exhausting. Juno slips back into a silent stupor. Angus looks around confused, like, this guy just talked to me. That's weird. Lyle and the others now just kind of stare in awe because they've never seen Juno talk so much before. In the Reed House day, Susan Anna in her boyish overalls helps with the dishes. Her sisters all play behind her, and her mother boils water on the stove next to her. The more she scrubs, the more her eyes well up with tears. She tries to hide it and wipe them away. One of her sisters calls out to her, Susan Anna, Susan Anna!
Yeah, Jean.
Look, look! She tries to clear her eyes and turns around to look, and the sister's holding up a picture that she just drew.
That's great. Do some more.
She turns back around, trying to hide the emotion. One of her younger sisters sees her eyes and walks up to her. Susan Anna, are you okay?
Yeah, I just, the soap got in my eyes.
You crying? Then all the other girls in the room like suddenly look up at her, and Susan Anna's just like barely keeping it together.
No,
And she turns to her mom.
I'm going to go for a walk.
And she rushes out the door. Outside the Reed house, she bolts out of the house and runs down the street through town. Some kids try to race her as she passes. She winds up on a dusty road with the rest of the town in the distance behind her and comes to a stop, resting her hands on her knees, bent over and crying. She's like finding a quiet place to herself to let it all out. She goes to the side of the road and sits down, her head in her hands. And then from over the hill, Jeff comes walking slowly down the road. He stops when he sees her, then, kind of approaches slowly. When she finally sees him, she covers her face, but then realizes it's pointless and just wipes it off. Jeff offers her a handkerchief, and she takes it.
Did Herb get out okay? I'm sorry, Susan.
I know.
He sits down next to
her. What's he going to be doing again?
Building parts for trains. Finally gave up on the farm.
Him and the rest of the town. But hey, maybe I'll get to see you a little bit before I leave. It'll be like old times.
She just stares at the ground.
Jeff, nothing personal, but I'd really like to be alone right now.
He sits there for a beat, staring at her, finally.
Yeah. Yeah, sure.
And then he stands up.
Sorry.
She nods to him, and he walks away. She sniffs, huddled on the roadside alone. So now we're back in the bar, and Hayden's sitting at the bar, like seriously buzzing, talking to Lyle and whoever will listen to him.
Heard Herb Calloway left today. Well, I'll tell you one person who ain't leaving, me. I love this place. You don't just leave when things get bad. You stick it out. My whole family was down with fever, and did I leave? Did I?
No, you didn't, Hayden.
I didn't. I stayed. I watched my wife and little boy die. Thought my other boys would join them, but I stayed.
He sits there, and soon after, a man next to him reads from the newspaper on the bar. I'll be the newspaper man. Listen to this. Some kind of airship blew up over Chicago and left some strange metal everywhere. Everyone's been seeing these things lately. And he turns to Angus, who's next to him. Read that. Angus just kind of glances at the paper and then nods his head and looks away. Hayden takes the paper from the man and looks at it. Drawings of strange airships are on the page. Headlines reading, strange ships fascinating thousands, and there's something in the air. He continues reading entranced. This was actually a thing, by the way. There were like headlines around this time of like airships, and I think it was actually like maybe some early airships like I talked about on the channel, like the Zeppelins and whatnot. And I said on the channel when I was talking about that, sorry, I'm interjecting now, that it must have been really crazy for people to see things flowing around in the air because they just never seen it before. And so I feel like, and this is my hunch, there were some early like airships flying around that people were testing. People saw them and started thinking that they were like UFOs and stuff right around this time. And that kind of led to this whole story. So there you go. Background. Some of this is actually based on real stuff. All right, so we're just kind of getting a picture of the town right now. So we're at Emma Whitman's house. We kind of saw her at the church earlier. Dusk is falling. She's up on the top of her roof trying to repair the roof. She's sweaty and exhausted. Finally, she gets a patch that holds and starts back down, and on the way, her hand crashes through and forms a new hole. She sighs. Out on the street, it's still barely light out as Angus makes his way to the shop. He walks in the unlocked door of his metal shop, marked only by a sign with a shamrock on it. Inside the shop, he walks in. It's a metalworker's shop. He has it decorated with many artworks of his, trying to make the place look as nice as possible, because as we can see when he climbs into a loft above the shop, he also lives there. He takes off his Claddagh ring, kisses it, I think I said that right. Sets it on the bedside table, lies down to sleep. So back at the watering hole, Lyle's closing out the bar, and Hayden's kind of like walking around in a drunken stupor. Already lots of drunken stupors in this movie. A storm cloud is thundering in the distance.
Your boys waiting on you?
My boys. They're good boys, you know. Tough as the Dickens, too.
Yeah, they sure are, Hayden.
Hayden just stands there looking around the ghost town.
You, gonna go home to them?
Yeah, they're probably waiting on me.
He starts walking away, and then Lyle stops him.
Hayden! Your house is that way.
Hayden smiles at him and just keeps walking in the same direction.
I'm taking the scenic route.
So Lyle just kind of shakes his head and goes off his own direction. So now we see S.E. Hayden kind of walking through the place at night. We probably have some music playing at this point. We see Jeff coming home. This is the Spencer house. Jeff comes back in the house. His father is a louse of a man, sleeps half naked on the chair. He's extra careful not to wake him as he goes to his room. His mother lays in bed and looks up at him as he passes by her door. Not from the best family. He goes into his room, which is decorated with New York stuff. As we find out in a minute, he's like obsessed with moving to New York. So there's New York stuff on the walls. Books are piled up on the floor. He lays down in bed. Back on Hayden, he's walking through the cemetery or past the cemetery, seeing fresh graves littering the grounds. He continues walking. Eventually, he continues until he's down this dirt road, and he happens upon a windmill. The thunder rolls in the background, and then something catches his eye, and he looks up at the windmill in awe. So, if I was making this movie, if some billionaire daddy wanted a tax write-off and wanted to fund this thing, this is where I would put the opening credits. I know we're 15 minutes into the movie, but
15-minute cold open.
Yeah. But we set up basically this is a town that is deteriorating. They've had a series of events that have like kind of destroyed stuff, and
People attempt
they're looking
suicide
for an answer.
money.
So this is where we go to the credits. And if you're listening to the Spotify playlist, it would be Your Protector by Fleet Foxes. It would be dope. Anyway, so we cut back in. Exterior downtown day. A wagon rolls into town, and it stops in front of the general store. A man drops a stack of newspapers in front of the door, then leaves. Emma walks up just after. She unlocks the door, puts out the open sign, pulls the papers in. So the newspapers are making their way around town. She puts the paper on the display, cuts the string around the bundle, and then goes about straightening out the store. And then the papers just kind of sit there ignored. Inside the schoolhouse, Sarah's busy with the kids. Jeff helps her out with the school duties. Sarah looks at the time.
Jeff, can you go get me a paper for me?
She hands him a coin and he leaves. At the general store, Lyle's purchasing a paper. He walks out just as Jeff walks in. He grabs a paper, puts the coin on the counter, but before he can walk out, though...
You gonna buy a comb with that?
No. Why?
She hands him one.
Then please just take one. The rest of us have to look at you.
And he walks out, kind of trying to lay his hair down. That's just like a thing about Jeff. He's got crazy hair. So outside the general store, a few more people walk out of there with papers. At the watering hole, Lyle turns the pages of the paper behind the bar, and then something catches his eye, and he leans closer to read it. At the cotton processing building, several men are sitting about waiting for a shipment. One of them, we'll name him Jake, reads the paper. Something catches his eyes too. Hey, fellas, check this out. At the schoolhouse, Jeff's reading the paper. Whatever it is, he sees it. His eyes go wide. Suddenly at the general store, a whole flood of people run into the store. One of the men runs out with a friend next to him. He quickly flips through the pages. Here it is. So everybody's like, something's in the paper. What is this? In Angus's shop, he's tinkering with a small device when Philip, his assistant of sorts, walks in with the paper excited.
Angus, have you read the paper?
Can't say that I have.
Philip lays the paper out on the table.
Look at this. Read this. You won't believe it.
Angus just kind of walks away from it.
My hands are full. Read it to me.
Philip turns it around and starts into it, reading it with a smile.
From the pages of the Dallas Morning News, Aurora, Wise County, Texas, April 17th.
Angus looks up. What?
We're in the Dallas paper.
Hang on, it only gets better. About 9 p.m. last night, the night owls of Aurora were astonished at the sudden appearance of the airship which has been sailing through the country.
Angus is looking at him confused. So I just want to interject real quick. This entire article is verbatim, word for word, what was actually published in the Dallas Morning News on this day. I actually went to a library, found the microfiche, and copied it verbatim. So this is 100% exactly what was in there. All right, so we cut to the schoolhouse. Jeff is reading it, so we're just going to kind of continue through the reading of this article from various characters' points of view. So Jeff is reading it to the kids.
It sailed directly over the public square, and when it reached the north part of town, it collided with the tower of Judge Proctor's windmill and went to pieces with a terrific explosion, scattering debris all over several acres of ground, wrecking the windmill.
The kids all look at each other in awe, and Jeff just kind of chuckles like it's some kind of joke. At the church, Reverend Starks is reading the paper to a few elderly ladies.
The pilot of the ship is supposed to have been the only one on board, and while his remains are badly disfigured, enough of the original has been picked up to show that he was not an inhabitant of this world.
He removes his glasses and looks at the amazed ladies.
Oh my.
Suddenly he's George Takei. Oh my.
Oh my.
Oh my.
So back at the general store, they have run out of newspapers. There's a whole crowd gathered around, and Emma's reading from the last paper to the crowd that's formed around the store.
TJ Weems, the U.S. Signal Service officer at this place and an authority on astronomy, gave it as his opinion that he was a native from the planet Mars.
Gasps sound from the crowd. One man turns to the other. That TJ's pretty smart.
Papers found on his person, evidently the records of his travels, are written in some unknown hieroglyphics and cannot be deciphered. The ship was too badly wrecked to form conclusions as to its construction or motive power.
More murmuring from the crowd.
I'm sorry, it's a terrible accent.
That's fine.
But, 55. Yeah, okay.
All right, so in the watering hole, Lyle's finishing up this article to a small crowd at the bar.
The alien being given a proper Christian burial in the Aurora cemetery, where it is to remain indefinitely. Signed, S.E. Hayden.
He puts the paper down. One of the men in the crowd speaks. Hayden? Just then, Hayden walks in the door, and they all turn and stare at him. He freezes.
What?
What? All right, so we cut to the courthouse at night. There's a big gathering. Everybody's freaking out. They're getting together, trying to figure out what's going on. Jeff walks toward the courthouse. It's packed with people, standing room only. It's loud and with commotion inside the chamber as people shout out questions about the alien. At the front stand Judge Proctor and Mayor Willis, 50s, a bearded man with a bad comb-over. Up front is also Sheriff Lids, munching on pecans as usual. That's his thing. He eats pecans. Deputy Roy Black is sitting next to Sarah, and Jeff walks in the door and stands next to Angus, who's leaning against the frame just inside.
Hey, Angus.
Aaron and Jeffrey.
They decided to string him up yet?
They'll have to steal the rope from Juno.
Up front, the mayor answers a question.
I haven't seen Mr. Hayden, and I don't know anything about it. But whatever is going on, let's try to keep this down. I don't want the town to turn into a freak show.
A woman in the crowd says, Judge, is your windmill really destroyed?
I have several on my land, but I haven't seen any destroyed.
At the door, Jeff notices a man standing to the side of the room taking notes on a notepad, and he turns to Angus.
Hey, who's that guy?
Never seen him. Looks right interested, though.
In the crowd, another man calls out to the sheriff. Sheriff, surely you'd have known something about a Martian landing in town. Why didn't Hayden say anything to you? Sheriff Lids looked to the back of the room.
Why don't you ask him?
Everybody turns around. Jeff's surprised to see S.E. Hayden standing in the door behind him. All smiles at the spectacle. He loves being the center of attention. The room falls silent. In one of the seats, Cyrus pulls on William's arm. Who had Cyrus?
Me.
Oh, okay.
Hey, what's going on?
Dad's about to make an ass of himself.
Oh, boy.
Hayden starts making his way up the aisle to the front, loving the attention.
Let me guess. You all want to know if I made it up or not.
The crowd murmurs.
Murmur. Well, I'm here to tell you, friends, it's all true.
The crowd erupts and questions start flying his way. Why didn't we hear it crash?
Well, you probably did, but it was thundering real loud that night, too.
Where's TJ?
Oh, he's out of town doing signal work. Left last night.
Judge Proctor says none of his windmills are down.
Well, that's because it didn't hit his windmill. I changed the location because I didn't want a lot of tourists to destroy it. It actually landed south of town.
What did it look like? What exactly happened? So by this time, Hayden's at the front, and he turns to the group, who suddenly falls silent.
Well, listen up, and I'll tell you. I was walking home. I'd been at the bar with Lyle. It was dark. It was a dark and stormy night.
Dark and stormy night. That's how they all start. So now we have a little bit of a flashback that we can see in the same scene as earlier. So Hayden walks toward that windmill, and now we hear him talking over this.
While it was thundering in the distance, it was calm and peaceful where I was standing.
And then back at the courthouse, a dramatic pause.
Until.
So we're back at the roadside. We're kind of seeing what he's describing.
Sorry. Suddenly, I saw this light out of the corner of my eye. I turned, and I saw this long, cigar-shaped airship, the very one they've been talking about in Chicago. It was all bright and shiny like.
All right, so as he's saying this, we kind of see this UFO kind of like come up over the horizon and kind of, hovering there. Back at the courthouse, he's being really dramatic.
And it just hung there, floating in the sky. It would bob up and down, kind of crazy, and then sit still again. I didn't know what it was. I thought I'd lost my mind.
And then back on the roadside in the flashback, the ship kind of suddenly dips below the horizon line.
And then it was gone. I waited around a minute for it to come back, but it didn't until I started to walk away.
So Hayden turns, starts walking away, and then he sees this glowing from behind him.
And then the most incredible thing happened.
And so here, as Hayden turns around to look, this is the big spectacle that would be in the trailer. The ship suddenly bolts out from the horizon line in the far distance, and like a badly thrown football, crazily gets bigger and bigger as it flies towards Hayden. It flies right over him, then slams into the side of the windmill, carrying parts of the windmill with it across a small valley and disintegrates into the ground below. Hayden watches in disbelief. Back at the courthouse, the crowd is just butter in his hands.
Needless to say, I almost soiled myself, so I went to grab TJ and brought him back.
So back at the crash site, Hayden and this guy, TJ Weems, 40, is a tall, slender man. We never see him again. They're both staring down at the ground, goggle-eyed.
Luckily, TJ knew exactly what to do.
TJ pokes it with a stick. That's one of those things that probably doesn't sell as well in a reading, but he knew just what to do. Point, point. Anyway. Hayden reaches down and picks up a small bundle of papers. The writing on it's made up of strange symbols. They turn to one page that seems to have a star map on it, and they look at each other. Back at the courthouse.
Now, we figured a spaceman of his obvious advancement deserved a proper Christian burial, so we gave him a nice grave in the cemetery.
And then back in the cemetery, we see TJ and Hayden shovel dirt into an open grave.
Unmarked.
Back at the courthouse, silence, stillness. Everybody's eyes are like saucers, maybe flying saucers. Finally, Lyle stands up.
This true, Hayden?
True as I'm standing before you right now.
People are kind of skeptical, and we all know Hayden,
Oh, hey, come on. Y'all know me. I'm no liar.
And the room breaks out into laughter. Come on.
Oh. I'm talking to myself here.
Oh, are you? Oh, sorry.
No, that's okay.
I went through so much trouble to keep this from happening. And here
But
it is.
why have you
Okay.
printed it, Hayden?
Mayor Willis. But why do you have it printed, Hayden? Hayden. Because I love this town. I know we don't like talking about it, but we're drying up here. We used to be a great, proud community, and now nobody wants to be caught dead here. I wanted to bring people back, or at least create some interest.
Some people some people in the room, including Angus, kind of nod their heads like, yeah, we get it. So now Mayor Willis responds to him.
Well, I don't want this town to be known as a town of Martians. I know we're having hard times right now, but I've got some policies to work to counter that.
Okay, yeah.
Hey.
We've heard this before.
Hey.
Politician, whatever.
Okay, I'll see you want to believe it.
Hey, I'm serious. I don't want to hear any more talk of Martians, and that's final.
Boom! He bangs the gavel. Outside the courthouse, Jeff stands outside the door as people walk out. Susan Anna walks by and he catches her. She's still kind of depressed and upset.
What do you make all this?
She continues walking. He just kind of walks along with her.
I think SC's outdone himself in the bullshit department.
So, how you doing?
Getting by. Trying to stay busy. Look, I didn't mean to give you the treatment the other day.
No, it's okay, really. But I meant what I said. I'd like to see you some more before I go.
You're still set on that New York thing, huh?
Yeah, as soon as I graduate.
Why New York?
It's the center of the world. You can find anything you want there.
You've got that here.
In Aurora? In New York, they have high-class plays and theater. Our entertainment here is a guy who gets drunk and sees things.
Hey.
You know,
He says out of the darkness.
you know they have horseless carriages out there? Call them automobiles, underground trains, electric lights. People ride bicycles all over the place. The whole world is going mechanical. In New York, well, that's where my destiny lies.
I hear there's nothing but foreigners out there.
Yeah, you ever heard a foreign girl talk? It's like a ribbon of chocolate.
Where do you hear that?
Angus was telling me.
Angus is foreign, so is he like a ribbon of chocolate? Is that
I don't know.
Is that the implication?
More like white chocolate.
There's little chocolate things that are
All the flavour, none of the colour.
He's more like candy corn. So they walk out of the frame. Back at the courthouse, the mayor's angrily kicking out that man that Jeff had seen taking notes earlier.
Get out of here. Get.
You don't get. The mayor turns to Roy Black and behind him.
You watch that guy.
The
Watch
man
it.
kind of lurks away. So back in Angus's shop, so it's the next day. Jeff is working on a machine in Angus's shop. Angus is preoccupied with something across the room.
The teacher, she doesn't mind you doing this during school time.
Nah, she says there's not much she can teach me. I mostly help her out with the other kids anyway.
She seems like a nice lass. Never met her myself.
Just then, the man who was taking notes from the meeting earlier walks up into the open door and knocks on the frame.
Excuse me. I was wondering if I could talk to you gentlemen for a minute. Is this a good time?
As me pappy says, if it's not a good time, make it a good time. Come in.
The man walks in, kind of glancing back into the street where Roy Black is eyeing him.
What do you need to talk to me about? Who are you anyway?
The man sticks his hand out to shake, and Angus shakes it with a greasy, dirty hand.
Patrick Case. I'm a reporter for the Popular Science magazine out of New York. I was in Dallas on an assignment when this Martian thing happened, so here I am.
You're from New York?
All my life.
What a coincidence. I'm going to be living out there soon.
Oh, yeah? Which borough?
Burrow.
No, borough. Which part?
Oh, the island.
Oh, Manhattan?
Sure, yeah.
Nice
Manhattan.
part of town.
Just then, Roy comes to the door and interrupts.
Angus, just wanted to remind you that the mayor doesn't want us talking about the incident.
Patrick rolls
Well,
his
deputy.
eyes.
Well, deputy. He's going to write something whether I talk to him or not. Would you rather him make it up or get something right?
It's not about what he makes up or gets right. It's about you following the law.
Deputy Black, is it against the law for a man to talk to another man in his own home? I didn't think so. Now, until I'm breaking the law, would you mind pissing off?
Hey, you watch it, Limey.
Would somebody please tell the bloody people around here that Limey is English? I'm a Mick. For the love of...
Hey,
I'm sorry. Where were we?
Oh, what do you know about the Martian?
Nothing. Sorry, mate.
Angus goes back to work and Patrick follows him over.
Well, nothing. That's all you want to say?
I'm sorry. If I knew something, I'd tell you, but I don't.
But you just fought with a cop to talk to me. What was that about?
I was fighting for the right to talk to you. Doesn't mean I had anything to say.
So you were just fighting over an empty principle.
I'm Irish, mate. That's what I'm good at.
A mailman comes to the mailman. A mailman, not a mailman. A mailman. Anyway, a mailman comes to the door. Letter for Angus Kelly. Jeff takes it from him, and the return address is from Ireland.
Keep checking back. If I hear something, I'll let you know.
Disappointed, Patrick heads out the door.
Well, thanks anyway.
Hey, how long are you going to be in town?
Oh, we'll see. Depends on how long I'm in jail.
Patrick leaves, and then Jeff puts the letter next to Angus.
It's from Ireland. Family?
Yeah, me mum.
Jeff kind of goes back to what he's doing, and Angus doesn't read it.
Aren't you going to read it?
Not now.
Jeff nods, a bit confused, goes back to work. At the general store, Emma stands behind the counter talking pointedly to Susan Anna, who's just hanging about.
What do you want me to make you feel better? He's not coming back, dear. If you wanted to marry you, he would have done it before he went.
I think he would have, but he just didn't have the funds to support me in Dallas.
Well, if you ask me, and I know you did, that's just one more of a sign. That's just more of a sign that he's not ready for it.
Then an out-of-towner comes walking in, wandering around looking at stuff.
Let me know if I can help you.
He smiles at her and goes on. Susan Anna kind of mouths to Emma like, who is that? And she's like,
You from out of town?
Then he turns around. Who, me? Oh, yes, ma'am. Just passing through on my way to Dallas. Thought I'd bypass the train in Rome and take a look around here. There is a town near Aurora called Rome. It's got an H in it. It's Rhome, so he's not coming through from Italy. Anyway. So Emma kind of looks confused, but is more distracted by watching his hands as they grab one item after another. And he continues looking as he talks. So, is it true?
Is what true?
You know, the Martian. She's just captivated by all the things he's grabbing. He comes to the counter to pay, and she's just like amazed by his armload. She just doesn't see people buying this much stuff.
Well, I haven't seen any.
She looks at the wad. She looks at her cash machine and back to the man as he brings out a wad of money.
Any reason not to believe it?
The man kind of gives her a sudden look of awe, a look that he's just heard something he wants to tell the world. Susan Anna looks almost as surprised. Wow. Well, thank you, ma'am. He rushes out the door, and then Emma stares at the money in her hand and then gives a knowing smile at Susan Anna.
It's Whitman.
She's scamming this guy. So at the Western Union station, the out-of-towner excitedly runs up to the booth and hands a message to the telegraph operator. So the word is starting to spread. Back at Angus's shop, Jeff's looking for a tool.
Where's the C-clamp?
It's upstairs.
Jeff climbs the ladder, and then Angus hears something and looks out the door. Out in the street, a man is hugging a woman and her child, all smiles. They act as if they haven't seen each other in a long time. And she's like, it's been so long. Angus just kind of watches this happy family, the joy in their voices, the smiles in their faces. And then in the street, the man picks up the kid and walks away. And he's like, what's with this Martian thing? So he just saw this family like get reunited because of this Martian thing. So Angus kind of ponders what he just saw. And upstairs, Jeff looks around his desk, and on the corner of the desk is a small box full of letters. He starts kind of filing through it. They're all letters from Angus's mother, all of them unopened. Jeff kind of looks baffled. He grabs the clamp and goes back down. He gets back to work, and after a beat of silence...
So, tell me about your mom.
What do you want to know?
You get along with her?
Oi.
You miss her?
Every day.
So, what's with all those unopened letters upstairs?
Well, that was right nosy of you.
was right next to the clamp. I couldn't help but notice.
Hey, I can't help but notice that the machine's still broken. So, if you don't mind.
And Jeff kind of nods and gets back to it, but he just can't let it go.
I'm sorry. I just don't get it. Why wouldn't you read letters from your mom? They went back for years.
It's really none of your business.
I mean, it's okay if you don't like your parents. My dad's an asshole too.
Don't you ever call my father that.
Well, then why don't you read the letters?
Because I can't read, right?
Jeff pauses, looking at him. Angus shifts around, embarrassed.
We just never learned.
Jeff slowly smiles.
Well, that can be fixed.
Interior schoolhouse day. Jeff walks in the room and approaches Sarah, who's writing in her grade book.
Hi, Jeff. Are you done out there?
Yes, ma'am. Can I borrow you for a second? I may have a new student for you.
She follows him out, confused. Outside the schoolhouse, she walks out the door and sees Angus standing there. He takes off his cap when he sees her walk out. His hair is really messed up, so Jeff grabs the cap and puts it back on his head.
Angus?
You know my name.
Of course I do. What are you doing here?
Angus kind of has trouble responding. Jeff pokes him with an elbow.
I can't read.
Oh.
Can you teach him?
Angus kind of diverts his eyes, embarrassed. She smiles. So later, in Angus's shop, Angus is sitting across from Sarah with a sheet of paper in his hands.
TUVWXYZ.
That's very good, Angus.
We know a little.
She takes the paper away from him.
Did you have any questions before we move on?
Actually, yes, ma'am.
She cocks an eyebrow, interested. He stands and walks across the room, returning with the shoebox full of his mother's letters. And he sits in front of her.
These are from me mum. She's in Ireland. I get one every month, like clockwork.
And you can't read them.
I didn't want anyone to know, so I never asked anyone to read them.
Do you want me to read them?
Would you?
Of course I would.
She rifles through the letters. There's a lot of them.
This might take a while.
Hey, stop whenever you like.
So she smiles, pulls out one in the back of the box. She's doing him a solid, having a little moment, doing a thing. So we cut back later. Angus is leaning against the table, smiling as Sarah reads the letters to him.
We've been tending to your Uncle Ferris after a quarrel with the local constable over a bet. A swollen eye and bleeding lip, but that's normal for him.
Chuckles.
As always, our thoughts are with you. We pray this letter finds you well. With much love, Mom.
She folds up the letter and puts it back. Angus smiles.
One more?
Okay.
So she opens up another one. Angus sips on his tea.
Okay, last one. My dearest Angus, I'm afraid I'm writing under less cheerful circumstances this time around. It seems your father has fallen ill with an unknown ailment and has found it difficult to work. Some days are better than others. Some days he works with a little difficulty, while others he remains bedridden.
So Angus puts the tea down, concerned.
He suffers from terrible fits of coughing, whence occasionally produces blood. That sounds like tuberculosis. We pray for his health and hope that this disease will soon pass. Meanwhile, your brother has been working.
Wait. Does she mention my father again?
Not in this one.
Skip to the next one.
So he's getting kind of agitated now. He's like, what? So she puts it away and opens up the next one, seeing his fear. He's up and pacing at this point.
My dearest Angus, I hope that my letters are reaching you, as this one is of grave importance. Your father's condition, which I wrote about previously, has worsened. His days out of bed have become less and less frequent, and his weight has dropped considerably. Local physicians are at a loss to treat his condition, and I find myself in tears thinking about what the near future holds. Oh, Angus, how I wish you were here, for I don't know how much longer your father has to see you. Indeed, I need to see you equally as much.
So Angus is getting really upset now. There's tears in his eyes. She kind of scans the letter real quick.
She doesn't mention him again.
Read the next one.
She quickly stuffs the letter and then opens up a new one, kind of scans over it first.
What?
She looks up at him, misty-eyed.
I'm sorry, Angus.
Angus put his hands to his head and paces, muttering,
No.
This was almost a year ago.
Sarah puts the letter away and walks up to Angus, who's leaning against a table, doubled over and crying.
Angus, are you okay?
Go away!
I'm sorry.
Go away!
She turns and quickly walks out, wiping her eyes, and Angus slumps to the floor crying. So he had a really close connection to his father, and his father has died. He just found this out. The next day, at the Western Union station, Jeff's working on a ticker tape machine in the Western Union office. Suddenly a message comes through. He looks at the door and he's looking around for the telegraph operator who isn't there. So he goes back to the ticker. The note says, "Message from Rome. Are there any hotels or inns in Aurora? Stop." Jeff kind of looks around and slyly he types a response. "Why do you ask? Stop." He waits for a second, looking around suspiciously. And after a beat, he gets an answer. "Because you will need one. Stop." Jeff shakes his head like, "What?" Then he hears something behind him, a small group of people in the street staring and pointing into the distance. I put pointing in there twice for some reason. So Jeff steps out the door, and as more and more people gather around, they're all looking out in the same direction. The crowd sees far into the distance where the road disappears over a hill. A cloud of dust rises into the sky. Over the hill, a convoy of wagons and horses stretches for miles. The song in the soundtrack would be "Keep the Car Running" from Arcade Fire. Yeah, okay. I have a moment in my head. So there you go. All right, so we got all these people in a convoy. We're going to meet them real quick. So in one of the wagons is a family of 6, the Robinsons. Hey, stop. She's eating my chair again. 1 second. Okay, so the Robinsons, Pa Robinson, late 30s, stone-faced, chiseled. Ma Robinson, late 30s, slender woman, sunny disposition, and a baby in her arms. In the wagon are their twin daughters, Kelly and Shelley, 12, both red-headed, freckled with a lazy eye. Lastly is the boy, Caleb, feet dangling out the back, throwing small rocks at a dog that was following them. Elsewhere, Bob Waldrop, mid-40s, riding horseback, always pulling a pack mule behind. Grizzled man with a stern face, always squinting. He's Clint Eastwood. Further down are 2 men in dusters, their hats pulled low over their faces, riding horseback. Finally, in a wagon ornately decorated with astrological signs or a group of spiritualists, 3 women and a man. They go by singular names. The man, Apollo, has long hair with a ponytail. The woman, Dawn, is brunette and a bit pudgy. Another woman, Eve, is redhead with dark eyes. And finally, April is a gorgeous blonde with a huge chest and plunging necklines. She has big boobs. That's the character trait that April has. So
that's how you write that out.
Yeah, very multi-layered, that one. A scout runs back down the line from the top of the hill, shouting at each passing wagon. "It's just over the hill! It's just over the hill!" Everybody gets a second wind of excitement. The Robinson kids all get out the back and dash to the front. The spiritualists all hug each other. Everybody's moving in double time as they approach the hill. So there's like this large convoy. They're all excited to be seeing. Hang on.
I don't care about your podcast, Joe. Don't care about your live stream. Oh. I am the great one.
Lovely. And now my sound is all messed up too. Hang on. Okay. Sorry, guys. Dog. Okay. So they're all approaching, and then back at the downtown, it's being flooded with townspeople who are staring at the top of the hill, kind of wondering what's going on. Cedric and YT sit outside the general store where Emma joins them. Lyle stands at the door of the bar. Jeff is soon joined by Susan Anna.
The heck is going on?
I think we may have some visitors.
In Angus's shop, Angus is laying on his cot. He's still upset, deep in thought. He hears the commotion and walks outside. At the convoy, the excitement continues to build as they approach the hill on the Robinsons. Ma Robinson. Is somebody reading Ma Robinson? Or was that just like a bit part?
That was me.
Oh, okay.
We're almost there, kids.
I'm gonna see it first.
No, I'm gonna see it first.
Inside the spiritualist wagon.
Look at all these people. This place must be incredible.
Apollo's like, no wonder the Martians came here. The hill keeps getting closer and closer. Excitement builds. The music swells. They finally look over the top, and it's just this tiny little town. Excitement plummets.
Where's the windmill?
It was knocked down. You can't see it.
Oh.
The Robinsons' kids all yell over each other.
I saw it first!
I saw first.
Saw what?
And there's two men in dusters. Man number one says,
I hope it gets bigger as we get closer.
That's what she said.
nice.
Oh,
Really?
No,
I expect so much more of you.
Ding, ding, ding. Wait. There we go. I'm sure that's what she said. So back at the downtown, more and more people are trickling in, looking into the distance where they can now see the convoy approaching. The mayor hurriedly rushes to Sheriff Lids, who is munching on pecans.
What's all this hairy horse crap? Is there a circus passing through town?
that's a circus. I don't think they're passing through.
Patrick Case walks up to Angus.
Why are all these people coming here?
Boy, do you think?
William and Cyrus Hayden walk up. William's amazed.
You won't believe this. Looks like Cyrus.
Cyrus.
What? Well, lots of people. Can't hear them, and I can't feel it. I can feel it in the ground.
I think you're confusing Cyrus with Cedric.
I know. I just realized
did give you two
that.
different.
I just realized because it was a last minute addition. Hold on. This is a 14 and 15-year-old kid, not an inbred.
Right.
So I'm going to readjust. Hold on. Lots of people. I can hear them, and I can feel it in the ground. Is that better?
That's better. Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
All of his other senses are heightened, and he can hear horse hooves pounding into the dirt as the head of the pack rolls into town. Downtown, the mayor looks terrified.
Oh, what the hell are we gonna do?
Emma Whitman knows what to do. She dashes into the store and comes out with 2 beef sticks in her hand. Oh, that sounds terrible. She gives them to Cedric and YT.
Here, boys, eat this.
Cedric kind of backs away from it.
These are the inbreds, by the way.
Yes.
All right. Whoa! What you trying to do? Get us arrested again?
Arrested again.
No, they're on me. Just eat it.
They quickly devour them, and then Emma pops him on the back of the head.
Slower.
What?
Welcome to Hee Haw. At the cotton office, Essie Hayden slinks behind the door and then peeks out from behind the window, nervous. So he's seeing all the commotion going on, and he's like, oh boy. So Cedric and YT are like sizing people up as they file in front of them, still gnawing on their beef sticks.
I'd kick his ass. Oh, that guy. I can definitely kick his ass.
Kick his ass.
They're literally just sitting there like, I kicked that guy's ass. As these wagons are rolling into town. Lyle sees what Emma's doing with the beef sticks, not to be outdone. He walks inside and comes out with a glass of beer in his hand, tipping it to the strangers as they pass by, taking long, hammy sips from it. A man sitting out front with him turns to Lyle. Who the hell are all these rejects? The spiritualist wagon passes, and April steps out of the canopy and into view. The sun reflects off her magnificent cleavage like a beacon. Jaws drop all around, and Lyle is especially taken by her.
Oh.
You call that a reject?
A man standing next to his wife gets a solid smack for staring at her. A mother covers her son's eyes. Reverend Starks swallows. The mayor grabs Roy Stark standing with Sarah.
Here, I need you to help me.
Roy walks away from him. Sarah just kind of smiles and looks on to see Angus standing by himself, looking aimless. The mayor walks up to the first in line. Yeah. The rest of them already packing in behind him. He's waving his arms.
There's no place to stay here, folks.
Is this Aurora?
I'm sorry, we have no place for people to stay.
Roy steps in, being his authoritative self.
Now listen. I need you to turn your selves around and start out on out of here. There's no place for you here.
But is this Aurora?
Yes, it is.
We're in Aurora! And the entire convoy starts yelling and celebrating. Some of the people join in. Yay!
Hey, hold on. There's no place for you here. Wait.
Despite what the mayor's saying, Lyle raises his mug.
Anybody want a cold one?
Emma jumps in.
Or some snacks.
The people on the convoy head straight into the bar in the general store, ignoring the mayor, and then he grabs Roy.
You watch these people. You hear? Watch them. Just
watch them. 5 men fight to help April out of the wagon. How do you do, ma'am? She just kind of smiles and walks away. Apollo passes by. She doesn't really talk much. And then one of the men looks at the other. She's perfect. Very misogynist, this town. She just kind of smiles at Lyle as she walks into the bar, and he tips his hat to her.
Ma'am.
The 2 men in dusters walk up to a guy standing on the side of the road.
Do you know S.E. Hayden?
You know, where could we find him? And the guy points across. Okay, so there are these 2 mysterious guys in dusters. They just walked up to a random guy, asked where he was. He says he works at the cotton office over there. So they start over to the cotton office. Behind them, Bob Waldrop strokes his horse's nose, eyeing him suspiciously. He whispers to the horse.
Something strange about those boys. Still, I can just tell. Something strange.
So the men walk past Angus, who watches them toward the cotton office. He sees Sarah approaching him from the side. He kind of shifts around nervously.
You okay?
I suppose.
I'm really sorry, Angus.
Well, I didn't mean to yell at you, but...
Oh, no. Don't worry about it. So do you want me to keep coming over?
If you please.
Sure.
All right, so in the cotton office, the men come to the door and look in, finding Hayden nowhere. They knock on the door.
Mr. Hayden.
No answer.
I wonder where he is.
Behind the cotton office, Hayden's hiding behind the building. He kind of sneaks away. Back on the street, one of the visitors walks away from a wagon toward Lyle's bar when Roy stops him.
Oh, excuse me, sir.
Yes, sir?
Are those your wheels back there?
I believe so.
And is that your trash laying on the ground under it?
The visitor just kind of takes a look, and then Roy starts walking him away.
See, here in Aurora, we don't allow littering around here. Come with me.
So then we see a close shot of a legal form. A stamp hits the paper, printing littering. April's standing on a street corner. Roy walks up behind her and taps her on the shoulder. Another form, prostitution. Patrick is standing on talking to one of the visitors. Roy walks up behind him. He looks up. Close shot of the form, miscellaneous. So Roy's just going around arresting people.
Yeah.
So cut to the nighttime. The empty wagons and horses sit around still in the night. An actual tumbleweed rolls through town. Angus exits his metal shop with a shovel in his hand and a rope coiled over his shoulder. He steps into the street and stops when he realizes that there's nobody around. All the wagons are empty. It's like he missed the rapture or something. He kind of reacts confused before continuing down the street. So everybody's been arrested by Roy.
And when the tumbleweed rolled through town,
it got
rolled
arrested.
through and said, yeah.
Pay attention to the hat, folks.
Yeah, there's a tumbleweed with handcuffs.
I'm Roy. I ain't no toy.
So the next day, Judge Proctor walks in the courtroom and sits at the podium kind of lazily. And just going through his motions. He doesn't really look up, still has his hat on.
All right, let's get this over with. What do we got today, Jim?
Jim the bailiff puts a stack of papers on the judge's podium. 32 cases, Your Honor. Judge Proctor looks up, shocked.
What?
The room is filled with almost all of the visitors, including the Robinson kids, with Roy standing in front of them, looking imposing. The judge looks at Roy and then starts sifting through the papers, whispering to himself.
Let's see, disturbing the peace, littering, solicitation, car and fire, loitering. Loitering? That's all there is to do in this town. Who all here was arrested by Deputy Black?
The entire room raises their hands.
You're all dismissed. Court apologizes for holding you.
He throws Roy a glare as he steps down from the podium, and Roy stands offended and embarrassed as the room clears. Interior of the judge's chambers day, Roy's arguing before Judge Proctor, who sits at his desk.
I was told to arrest those people.
Is that why you arrest? You were told to watch him. Is that why you arrested him? So you could watch him closer?
Well, yes. I was told to watch those people. I was. But I was just doing my job. One of them was like stealing from the general store, and you just let him go.
Well, that's what happens when you cry wolf.
Roy kind of calms down a little bit.
Go ahead. I'll wait, sir.
In your own
I
time,
thought you were
Roy.
going to read it. I thought you were going to read it. Yeah.
No, that's Roy.
Oh, okay. Well, Roy, calm down a bit.
Yep, in your own time there, Roy.
All right. Well, Jeez. I'm all flustered, Judge. But
I have that effect on people
expect
sometimes.
these people to respect the law if you embarrass me right in front of them?
You earn it, Roy. Someday you're going to learn that as long as you're working in a small town, you're going to have to work small.
So you want me to turn my blind eye to everything that, like the sheriff does?
The judge
Sometimes, yeah. Sometimes, yeah. I'm not going to have people in this town living in fear of the law. You want to rule an iron fist? Go do it in Dallas or Balch Springs or some shit.
Judge Proctor walks out, and Roy kind of shakes his head angry. Outside the courthouse, Roy walks out the back door and looks around, catching glances from everybody. Kind of swallows his pride, puts on his hat, goes on his way. So he wants to be the big tough guy, and he got totally shut down by the judge. Interior Angus's shop day. Angus walks in the doors of his shop with a shovel. He drags his feet, very tired. Philip sharpens the blades on a saw across the room. Angus sets the shovel in the corner.
Hey, where you been all morning?
Had things to do. Any new work?
Oh, just some horseshoes need fixing. For those alien watchers out there. You seen it lately? People still coming in. You'd think something really happened.
Angus makes his way to the ladder leading to his loft.
How do you know it didn't?
'Cause I got half a brain. Why? You know something I don't?
All I know is I'm knackered, so I'm going to sleep a bit. Don't mind me. We'll do the horseshoes later.
He flops down on his cot. So exterior downtown day. Wagons and people on horses still trickle into the downtown, which is starting to look like a tent city. At the general store, Emma walks in from the back with arms full of new stock for the shelves. Constant ringing is heard, and she sets the stuff down and makes for the register.
I'm coming. Hold your horses.
A line's forming at the register with the man in front ringing a bell. Ding, 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 ding. The store is full of people, and she starts ringing the man up.
How you doing today?
Fair to middling. I'd be doing better if you could tell me where I can find that Martian of yours.
What, that silly old thing? I suppose he's hiding around here somewhere.
A man next to the bell ringer jumps in. So, is it true?
Stick around long enough, you just might find out.
A lady across the store calls out to Emma, "Ma'am, you got any skin balm?"
Yes, ma'am, it's just in the back. Just give me a minute and I'll bring it out for ya.
So she continues ringing up the bell ringer stuff. His friend points to a hat nailed to the wall behind the counter. Why you got a hat nailed to your wall?
Was my husband's. Whole store was his. But he got the spotted fever and died, so it's mine now.
Oh, I'm very sorry to hear that, ma'am. A complaining man steps up behind the line. "Ma'am, your shelves are almost bare."
I know, I've just been too busy.
She looks out the door and sees Cyrus and William walking by and calls out to them.
Hey, 2 for 1.
They both stop and turn, surprised.
Y'all want to make a couple dollars?
So now Cyrus is ringing up customers behind the register. William sorts and loads the groceries for them. Emma walks out the back with more supplies, stocking the shelves and smiling. By the way, this isn't how general stores worked back then. Everything was like behind the counter, and so I got that wrong, but whatever.
It's an apothecary.
Just the town apothecary. Exterior street. The visitors are all commiserating in the street. Ma and Pa Robinson stay busy while the kids play. The spiritualists sit in their colorful tent, burning incense and meditating. Hundreds of others roam around, meeting people. Many of the townspeople sit in the storefronts and front yards, kind of staring at them. In the watering hole, just like outside, the room is split between townspeople on one side, visitors on the other side. They're both staring at each other. So this is a small town. They're not used to having as many people there. So it's kind of like, who are all these people? In the window, where are we? Oh, in the Reed house, Susan Ann is reading in her room with her 2 sisters playing on a bed behind her. She looks out the window and sees Jeff sitting in a tree across the street, staring off in the distance. She looks at him for a long beat, then closes her book and walks out. So Jeff's watching the visitors up in her tree, in the tree, as Susan Ann walks out.
Shouldn't you be in school?
Jeff looks down, kind of surprised to see her there.
There's nothing I can learn anymore. Come on up.
No, I haven't been 12 in years. Thanks anyway.
Oh, come on. Join me.
He kind of cuts her a smile. She, okay, and starts up the tree. So later they're sitting in the tree looking out at all these people.
I don't think I've ever seen so many people.
Not in this town, anyway.
What do you think all this means? So many people believing in something they have no proof of.
See you walking to church every week. What does that mean?
She's a bit thrown by that one.
Just blind faith? Like New York?
Huh?
You just seem to think everything that you're going to find everything you want there, but you don't know that.
Sounds like you don't want me to go.
There's not a lot of cool people in this town. I'd be ashamed to lose one.
Jeff kind of smiles. She thinks I'm cool.
But even if I stayed, you'd be leaving in a few months when Herb comes back for you, so same outcome.
I guess so.
Jeff has been leaning against another branch and then moves his hands to his sides. Susanna looks down. Their hands are touching. Ooh. Jeff looks down at their hands and she looks up, kind of feigning nonchalance. This tiny little physical connection is all they can focus on before Jeff finally breaks the tension.
So, do you think they're actually going to find an alien?
Sounds a little far-fetched.
Stranger things have happened.
Yeah, but has anyone ever seen Mr. Hayden since all those people showed up?
Jeff kind of looks away thinking about it, and then he sees something.
There he is.
So she looks up. Essie Hayden's kind of slinking down the street, trying not to attract any attention. He's walking toward the general store, but just before he reaches it, someone calls out to him. Hey, Hayden!
Hey, Hayden!
He turns looking for whoever said his name, and then the whole crowd of people turns and they're staring at him. All motion has ceased. One man turns and yells, "It's him!"
It's him!
And the whole crowd
It's
surges
him!
toward him.
There he is.
Hey, look at that.
Oh my God.
There's that dude.
That's
Sorry,
the
I'm gonna
Hayden.
do this.
Where's his
Haydenster.
pants?
Okay, so yeah, the whole crowd surges toward him. They look. He's looking for an escape, but there isn't one. They push in close around him, begging him to tell a story.
Please, Mr. Hayden, tell us what you saw.
Lyle stands from the side.
Yeah, hey, tell him what you told us.
Hayden kind of. Another man yells from the side.
Yeah, get up here so we can see you.
Hayden looks over at the man who's standing on the gallows platform. Why this town has a gallows, I don't know. The crowd agrees with him and urges him to go up there, so Hayden kind of looks back at Lyle, who's laughing along with the other townspeople. Lyle's a little bit of a prankster. He slowly gets up to the gallows and stands above the crowd. It's a sea of people below him, all of them excited. Some even look angry. He looks at the noose hanging behind him and he speaks quietly, nervous.
So, you want to hear about the Martian?
Louder!
The Martian?
Yes!
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 Maybe.
Well, it was stormy that night. I had just left the watering hole.
Inside the general store, Emma's standing at the door watching. William and Cyrus are behind the counter. William's watching what's going on.
You have no idea how badly you want eyes right now.
Shh.
At the gallows, Hayden struggles trying to save himself.
I had to put a few on, several really.
So he's like backtracking. So the visitors kind of look in awe. Across town, Roy Black is slowly walking down the street, looking upset. He looks up and sees something. In the cotton office, the two men in dusters are rummaging through the stuff in the cotton office, looking very suspicious. Roy kind of watches him and then stops himself from acting at first because the judge kind of got onto him, but then he waits a beat. And then he starts to walk toward them. He sees them going through a desk, pulling papers out of it. Once he sees this, he runs toward them, drawing his gun. He gets to the door and points it at him.
And now freeze! Put your hands up.
In the cotton office, they immediately dash out the back door. Roy follows. We got a little chase going on. Behind the cotton office, they run out the back, and they're running down the side of the building. He runs right behind.
Aurora police! Freeze!
They dug behind a rusted wagon, drawing their guns. Roy takes shelter behind a barrel.
U.S. Marshals, don't shoot.
What are your names?
Marshal Henry.
What's your first name?
There's a satellite delay on this.
Marshall.
You're Marshal Henry.
Yes. Now, can we quit playing around?
Let me see your badges.
The two marshals' badges land next to him. He looks at him, then stands, putting his gun away. Everybody's like, all right, okay, we're cool. So they relax and do the same. He gives the badges back.
Marshal Henry. Marshal Thomas.
They take
Sorry
their
about
badges back.
that. I'm Deputy Sheriff Roy Black.
He shakes their hands.
What are you doing in Aurora?
And they both just kind of look at each other. So back at the gallows, Hayden's wrapping up his story. We cut away because we've already heard the story.
So that's what happened. Yeah.
The crowd all stands silent. He's waiting for a response, but only gets blank stares. Finally, a voice calls out,
Show us!
Members of the crowd repeat their request. Everybody wants to see it, and it swells into a riotous
Come
roar.
on!
Show
Yes,
us!
show
us!
No.
Show us your spaceship!
There's nothing to show.
The crowd gets angrier and angrier until Bob Waldrop jumps up on stage with him and faces the crowd.
This man is lying. He works for the deep state, and this is a conspiracy to distract us from what's really going on out there. The government is conducting military experiments on its own citizenry, and he's in on it.
The whole crowd looks at him confused.
Is that true?
No.
Then you'd better show us a broken windmill.
And the crowd goes,
Yeah!
shoot the witch!
Shoot the witch!
Hayden looks petrified.
Windmill.
Bob leans over to him, kind of speaking under his breath.
Some of these folks came from hundreds of miles away. You're not going to let them down, are you?
Yeah.
If nothing else, you might want to put some space between you and that noose.
Hayden looks behind him at the noose and starts off the platform. Then once he's down, he kind of starts to walk through the crowd in a daze, and they all follow him. Lyle and the men in front of the watering hole stand up.
I thought you said it was really south of town, Hayden.
Hayden stops, nodding his head, turns and walks the other direction. Lyle and the others jump in with the crowd. Jeff and Susan Anna look at each other and they jump down. At the general store, William and Cyrus turn to Emma at the same time.
Mrs. Whitman, can we
Hell yeah, you can.
She puts a close sign on the door. So behind the cotton office, Roy's getting chatty with the marshals.
Well, if you ask me, there's nothing to it. I haven't seen any Martian, if that's what you mean.
All I ask is please don't let anyone know who we are.
I'm playing Marshal Thomas, by the way. We're supposed to be incognito. Roy has no idea what that means.
Yeah, me too. By the way, what do I have to do to be a marshal?
Why? You think you can cut it?
Behind Roy, the crowd of people walk by, literally hundreds of people following Hayden.
Well, I'll tell you, nothing goes on in this town without me knowing about it. Nope. Not a thing. Gets by me here. Not a thing.
Then what's that? Roy turns around and looks, shocked, at the mass of people walking past him, and he tries to stay cool as he turns back around.
Well, see, that's just the...
Yeah. The marshals kind of look at each other and walk off, joining the crowd, leaving Roy looking stupid. So after a beat, he follows. All right, so outside Angus's shop, Angus and Sarah are going over some flashcards, and the crowd walks by. They look at each other and join us. Everybody joining in this mass exodus of people as they continue with Hayden in front, staring at the ground as if he's on a death march. People in the crowd murmur to each other as they walk, all excited. Finally, they walk over a small hill, and a hush falls over the crowd around Hayden. Eve steps forward.
Look!
Everybody looks up in awe. Hayden, who's been staring at the ground, glances up as those around him rush forward with excitement. He gasps. Before them is a twisted and destroyed windmill. Broken in half, pieces of it litter the hilltop to a large charred crater. The crowd spreads throughout the area, gawking in wonderment and taking bits of metal from the ground. Hayden just passes out. Other town people are there, like Jeff and Susan, Anna, Emma, Lyle. All the boys are aghast in disbelief. Is this thing really real? Because this whole time they thought it was just a big story that S.E. Hayden had told, and here's the crash site. What the hell? Wait, where was I? The spirituals dance and celebrate because that's their thing. Angus just bursts into laughter at the scene. Reverend Stark makes a sign of the cross. The reverends turn to Roy. The marshals turn to Roy.
Did you know about this?
Roy just kind of shakes his head, staring in awe. The marshals go out to inspect the area. Jeff and Susan Anna walk amid the ruins.
You believe in Martians now?
No, I don't.
Me neither. But I guess it gives us something to do before we leave.
What's that?
Figure out what the hell is going on here.
The Robinson kids climb the broken windmill laughing. The spiritualists dance around happily. So now we cut to downtown, and everybody's celebrating. A band is playing, people are dancing, hands clapping, boots kicking dust. This thing they came here for is real. Yay. It's a thing. It's a carnival atmosphere. William and Cyrus run a souvenir shop for Emma outside the general store. A fire and brimstone preacher named Brother Carl in his 50s screams doomsday rhetoric to a crowd formed around him. He throws dirty looks to Reverend Starks as he passes by. Men crowd around April to dance with her. The rest of the spiritualists dance and bang tambourines. Hayden sits by himself off to the side, looking lost and confused. The mayor stands nearby, disgusted at the spectacle. A telegraph operator at the Western Union Station is just swamped with messages. He's missing out on the party that's going on outside his door. Jeff and Susan Anna walk around the outskirts of the party.
I almost don't want to know the truth about the Martian.
Why?
Are you kidding? Look at this place. I've never seen it like this before.
It is exciting. I can't remember the last time I saw anybody dancing around here.
You want to join them?
He offers his arm to her. She waits a beat, then smiles. She takes his arm and they walk off into the crowd. So Angus sits off to the side by himself, smoking a cigarette. He looks into the crowd and sees Sarah and Roy dancing together. He can't really take his eyes off of her, but slowly he stands and walks back inside his shop. So the next day, Angus is passed out on his bed early in the morning. Suddenly, a woman screams and he snaps up. Angus walks out of the shop, buttoning up his shirt. Squinting, he walks up to Patrick Case, who's staring at the sky.
What's all the clamour?
Some old man's gonna kill himself.
Angus looks up, and Juno is teetering on the edge of the courthouse roof, yelling incoherently at the people below.
Oh,
That's just Juno. I suggest you place your bets.
Angus makes his way to the betting ring. Patrick looks at him, confused. This time there's a betting booth set up with a chalkboard behind it, tallying the odds and stats. Many of the townspeople are gathered around, throwing them their money, but the visitors are outraged. Woman's like, how can you bet on something like this?
There's something else to bet on?
Oh, that was Lyle saying that, by the way. So this is just part of the town culture, and the people from the outside are like, this is nuts. So on Juno, from behind him, is like a sea of people screaming up at him. He's swaying back and forth on the A-frame building. On the ground, Brother Carl is screaming from the back of his wagon.
This is a prime example of the fate that awaits all of you sinners and masturbators.
Sorry, really quick. Brother Carl was a real person, by the way. Not necessarily in Aurora, but when I went to college at UNT, there was a guy named Brother Carl, and that's what he did. He would go to college campuses and just rile up the kids. I think it was an insurance grift, so that like if somebody were to finally attack him, he would sue them and make money. But like once a year, this guy would come around and you'd be walking to class and he'd be yelling about masturbators and fornicators and someone's going to rape your dog. And I mean, it was just like the most crazy thing. I had to put him in the script anyway. So Brother Carl was a real guy.
Awesome.
Real guy.
I remember him.
Yeah, he went to like all the colleges.
Yeah.
All the colleges.
I wonder if he's still doing it.
He's watching tonight.
Every single one of the colleges.
He is watching tonight, probably. Okay, so where were we? Masturbators and fornicators. Okay, so the spiritualists all watching horror. A woman's like, somebody do something. April looks around, desperate. She looks up to Juno.
Oh, jeez. Give me a reason to live.
Suddenly, she runs out in front of the crowd under Juno and throws up her bustier, flashing him. We wouldn't actually show this in the movie. It's just the thing, you know. It's a comedy bit. The crowd goes silent. Juno's eyes bulge.
That'll work.
He tries to step back, but stumbles, falling down the slanted roof onto a wagon full of hay at the bottom, alive and well. On the ground, the guy behind the betting table announces it. He lives! A cheer goes up and the money changes hands. April covers herself up and turns around, catching applause from everybody. She kind of smiles and curtsies. Boobs save lives, people. That's the moral of the story here, I think.
And sustain them.
That's just science.
True, yeah, at a certain age. So at a barn outside, okay. I have to explain this scene because it makes no sense. This scene does not. This scene makes no sense.
This one.
What's that? Yeah, just this one. All the rest are perfectly. Yeah. I wanted to get as many UFO tropes in this movie as possible. So here's where we have a cattle mutilation. And Bob Waldrop is clearly like the conspiratorial government kind of guy, you know. Like, so I'm trying to like represent all that stuff.
And this is where you should have seen Apocalypse Now.
I should have seen it by now. We need to go. This is going to start a whole thing. So outside of a barn, outside of town, Cedric and YT are like just laughing at a cow that's standing next to the barn. They have a plucked chicken sitting on the cow's head. Multiple knives are embedded in the wall behind it.
Cedric.
Oh, okay. All right. Sorry. Sorry. Okay. Your turn.
My turn.
So they're taking turns throwing knives, trying to like knock the chicken off of this cow's head. So YT throws a large throwing knife, and all we hear is a cow bud.
Oh, damn it. You know whose cow this is? Oh, well, we gotta cover this up somehow.
He pulls the knife out of the cow's head and hands it to YT.
Here, now, this is what you do. Cut his nuts off.
YT goes to do it, but comes back up.
He ain't got no nuts.
Cedric takes a look.
Well, now, I guess just have some fun.
So they're like, dive into the cow. It's a cattle mutilation. We need to make it happen. So there you go. So at the cemetery, Roy and the marshals are walking past the cemetery. They're, kind of inspecting to see if they can find the alien grave or whatever. Roy is just talking incessantly and getting on the marshals' nerves.
Now, you know what the problem is. I'm too big for this town. Nobody appreciates what I do around here. I keep order. I make it a safe place to be. And what I do, and what do I get? That's the problem. What do I get for it? The judge undermines me right in front of everybody.
So Marshal Henry sees someone in the graveyard poking around the ground with a stick.
Hey, look at that.
Roy sees it and starts toward him.
Hey, get out of there.
The man immediately runs off, and Roy turns back to him.
Someone should be standing guard around here.
The marshals kind of look at each other and smirk. Here's a chance to get him off their back. So we cut to Roy standing at the cemetery gate. The marshals are walking away.
All right. But you got to put in a good word for me. Make me a marshal. I can be a marshal.
So back downtown, a wagon rides through town with a dead cow in the back. The cowman, not a cowboy, is up front screaming and drawing a crowd. The Martian's out! It's mutilating my cattle! Look! No animal could do that! The wagon drives past Bob Waldrop where he's yelling to his own crowd. The wagon stops and Bob runs over to the wagon.
That's not the Martian, that's the government. They're destroying our possessions. They're invading our minds. S.E. Hayden says he doesn't remember where they buried the body. T.J. Weems is nowhere to be found.
The crowd's getting all riled up.
Maybe they can't say because they're government agents. They're in on it.
So Bob keeps going, but we move on where Brother Carl is yelling at another small crowd.
All of you fornicators and masturbators will burn in the fire of your own sin.
And then we just kind of scroll past him, and the Reverend Starks walks past, and Brother Carl starts throwing insults at him. He passes the spiritualists who are holding another seance, just the new normal in the town of Aurora. As we continue, we pass by Angus's shop where he and Sarah are sitting on the stoop doing lessons. He writes something on a handheld chalkboard, and she laughs, kind of slaps his arm. At Emma Whitman's house at dusk, as night is beginning to fall, a crew of workers walk away from Emma's house. The foreman tips his hat to her, tucking an envelope into his jacket, and she waves at him, smiling. She looks up at the roof of her house, which has been totally repaired. And she starts beaming, just walking inside. So people are, good things are happening. Back at the crash site, Jeff and Susan Anna are walking around, poking around, looking around. The demolished windmill is glowing in the light of the moon. Susan Anna scans the ground.
Visitors took the good stuff.
Jeff climbs up on the windmill, examining a place where the metal buckled.
Now, it may just be dark, but this almost looks like somebody took a torch to it.
Susan Anna walks up to the windmill and sits on a length of metal. She stares at something that she's holding in her hands.
That would take someone who knows how to work metal. Say, a metal worker?
Jeff jumps down.
Angus? No. No way. No.
He does have all those metal sculptures at his shop. Maybe this is just a giant sculpture?
Yeah, but Angus? You know how hard it is to get him to do anything? I can't imagine him doing this much work just for fun.
Well, I've got my eye on him.
It's not Angus.
She shivers. So he stands up, takes his jacket off and wraps it around her. She kind of smiles.
Thank you.
He's like adjusting her jacket, or the jacket on her.
Wouldn't you be warmer in a dress?
I hate dresses.
I've noticed.
She glares at him.
Do we have a problem with how I dress?
No. I mean, it's different.
She kind of squints at him a little more.
Nothing. I just think you're really pretty, and I don't know why you cover it up.
I know I'm pretty.
Well then.
No, I just... People used to always tell me how pretty I was all the time. My pretty little cherub, my aunt used to always call me. Ugh, I hated her.
Jeff kind of smirks and squeezes her cheek.
Cherub.
Oh, sorry. I talked over him.
That's okay.
He says, pretty little cherub.
Pretty little cherub.
She grabs his hand, kind of playfully angry.
I will cut you.
So they have a laugh.
The last thing I wanted was to be some dumb pretty girl. I wanted people to take me seriously.
You're not dumb.
I'm not smart, not like you.
I'm not smart. I mean, if I was, I would have done this years ago.
He plants a kiss on her, and then surprised, she pushed him away.
What are you doing?
I'm sorry. I'm sorry, God. I talk about stupid.
He paces around, more upset about it than she is. She just sits there, kind of pulling the coat tighter around her.
Susan Anna, I'm sorry.
He walks away holding his head. She watches him into the distance, a puzzled look on her face, but slowly a smile forces its way out. Interior watering hole day is the next day. Angus is sitting at the bar by himself, eating a plate of scrambled eggs and bacon, sipping on coffee. Then Philip walks in and sits next to him.
Morning, Angus.
Morning.
Coffee, please. I'm going to have to go to help my uncle in Fort Worth for a while. I hope that doesn't set you back.
Yeah, should be okay.
Philip kind of smiles mischievously.
So, I guess you heard about Juno?
What about Juno?
Interior Juno's house day. Juno lay in bed, eyes closed. A sheet is pulled over his face. The doc, mid-50s, a large bearded man in a bowler, packs up his instruments.
Died in his sleep. Old age.
Just died.
Yeah, just died. It happens when you get that old.
Crazy old sod couldn't even kill himself right.
I hear you were pretty close with him.
We had one drunken conversation with him, if that's what you mean.
That's probably closer than most. Someone's gonna have to bury him.
Right.
The doc walks out, patting Angus on the shoulder.
Let me know if you need anything.
He leaves the room, and then Angus kind of stares at the bed for a long beat, then looks around the messy room. On the wall hangs a Confederate Army cap. He walks over to it and picks it up, looking over it. And Juno is canceled now.
Phew.
If he was in Texas during the Civil War, he was in the Confederacy. What can you do? But yeah, so this guy who was like trying to kill himself all this time, he just dies in his sleep. Just how it happened. Sad little moment. Interior of the cotton office. Hayden is arranging some things on the wall behind the counter, and he's surprised by a boisterous voice behind him.
Mr. Hayden.
Hayden turns around and sees the two marshals at the counter, acting totally out of character.
What can I do for you, gentlemen?
Marshal Henry sticks out his hand to shake.
Name's Buchanan. This is O'Reilly. We wanted to talk to you about this whole spaceman thing.
Hayden kind of retreats. Ugh.
Look, fellas, I'm sorry, but if you aren't here for business, I got to get back to work.
He turns away and they stop him.
Oh, no. This is all about business. We want to sell some cotton for you.
I'm listening.
Let me ask you this. What's special about Aurora cotton?
Oh, nothing especially, not since the bull weevils. I mean,
that's where you are wrong, sir. What's special about Aurora cotton is that it's from Aurora. So great, even Martians couldn't stay away from it.
And this actually brings a smile to Hayden's face. All right, it's pretty good, So Marshal Thomas steps up. We think people are going to flock to buy Aurora cotton, if nothing else, just to say they have it.
Yeah, and you have to strike while the iron's hot with these things. So we need to jump on this right now.
Hayden pulls out his books.
Well, sounds good to me. How many bushels are we talking about?
The marshals kind of back up and look at each other. Marshal Thomas says, well, there's one thing. We have an investor in Dallas who's really excited about this and is going to spend a lot of money your way, but there's a catch. Hayden kind of puts his pencil down. He knew this was coming. He wants proof.
Well, they got pieces of the ship at the general store.
He wants the body, or at least a piece of the body.
Hayden just calmly closes his books and puts them back.
Have a good day, gentlemen.
He goes about his business.
Passing up a lot of money, Mr.
Guys,
Hayden.
I've been around long enough to know bullshit when I see it. Besides, I don't know I don't know where I buried it. I'm sorry. Good day.
Hayden goes back to work, and then, defeated, the marshals head out. At the cemetery, Roy is sleeping in his wooden chair outside the cemetery gate. He snaps up, adjusting himself, kind of trying to wake up. And then he looks on the ground about 100 feet in front of him, where there's a white notebook on the ground. He ignores it at first, but then finally walks over and picks it up.
What in the hell?
The pages are filled with strange hieroglyphic code. Diagrams show what has to be like star systems and planets. It's covered with dirt. His eyes widen. Inside the marshal's tent, the marshals sit in their tent brainstorming. Marshal Henry stares at a telegraph ticker. Close on the ticker, it says, "Message from the chief. Stop. First priority, find the body. Stop."
The United States government has sent 2 U.S. Marshals to find a dead Martian.
It's a great day for America. Then Roy opens up the tent and speaks in a very official manner.
I need to ask you gentlemen to step out of the tent, please.
They're kind of confused, but they get out. Once they get outside, he handcuffs them.
I'm afraid I'm turning you guys in on a 724.
Marshal Henry kind of makes eye contact and Roy winks at him. People are staring. The marshals look confused as he walks them away. Inside the courthouse, Roy leads the marshals in and immediately uncuffs them.
Oh, sorry about that, guys. I was trying to make you look like regular people.
Regular people don't get arrested, Roy.
Well, anyway, look at this.
He pulls out the notebook and they look at it.
Where the hell did you find this?
Right outside the cemetery.
How to get there?
I don't know.
They both turn and look at him. Weren't you, watching? Roy throws a glare at them and then Henry shakes some dirt off of it.
Hayden said he buried the logs with the body.
They all look at each other. Dun, dun, dun. Thank you. Back at Angus's shop, Jeff walks up to Angus's shop. He's surprised to see that there's a close sign on the door, but he starts in anyway. The door's stuck. He has to force it a little bit to get it open, but it finally does. Inside the shop, he takes a few steps in and then freezes in complete shock. Angus is standing over a table. There's a body on it. He's painting it green. And he stares at Jeff, frozen like a deer in headlights. And they just kind of stare at each other for a second. And then Angus yells at him,
"Get out!"
He runs over and pushes Jeff out the door, slamming the door behind him. Outside the shop, Jeff is just kind of standing there trying to figure out what he just saw. And then inside, Angus stands against the door. He's like, breathing heavy. And he waits for a long beat. Finally, he cracks the door open and looks out. Jeff turns around and looks at him. What the hell? Angus grabs him and pulls him in, pushes him against the door, intimidating him.
How well can you keep a secret?
Jeff kind of blanks. He's never seen Angus like this before.
How well?
Well, yes.
Swear on your mother's grave.
My mother's not dead.
Not yet.
Jeff's eyes widen. Then a smile.
You're doing this. Susan Anna was right.
What? What does she know?
Nothing. She just guessed, but she was right.
Angus just kind of slowly relaxes and lets him down.
No one can know about this, Jeff.
Oh, no. It's safe with me. I promise.
And Susan Anna?
Don't worry. She's cool.
She's cool. Jeff looks over and sees the shovel in the corner encrusted with dirt.
The crash site?
Yeah.
Jeff chuckles. He's like, this is amazing. And he walks over to the table smiling.
What's that?
Miss Juno?
No.
Jeff rushes to the table. The body's painted green, shaved with glass orbs giving him large black eyes.
It doesn't even look like him.
Eh? Everyone wanted a dead Martian. This was the best I could do.
Is this even legal?
Yeah.
How did you and Hayden get together on this?
We didn't. He doesn't know.
So Hayden just made that story up? And he has no idea what's going on here.
Jeff bursts into laughter, and after a minute, Angus can't help it, and he chuckles as well. All right, so now we're back in the cotton office. Hayden's straightening up behind the counter. When the two marshals walk back in, he sees them. They're very point blank this time. He's like, we need to find that body, Mr. Hayden. Roy walks in the door behind them.
Look, I told you I don't know where it is. Roy, can you help me? These men have been...
They slam their badges on the counter in front of him.
Bugging.
He stares at the badges, panic taking over.
Mr. Hayden, we're with the U.S. Marshal's office. I'm Marshal Henry. This is Marshal Thomas. I apologize for lying to you before, but We were undercover, and we're trying to stay that way.
Am I in trouble?
No, Mr. Hayden, but needless to say, the U.S. government is interested in the technology of flight. And they want to get to the bottom of this. That's why we're here.
Look, gentlemen, I honestly don't know anything about the body.
Well, we think that someone may have dug it up. You said you buried the flight logs with the body, didn't you?
Yeah, I said that, but
Marshal Thomas throws the papers on the counter, dirt falling off of it.
Look familiar?
Hayden gently picks up the papers. He's in total shock. Then he passes out cold. The marshals look at each other. I don't know if it's funny or dumb that Hayden passes out constantly. Maybe it's trite, but I don't know. It's in there right now.
It's his thing.
It's his thing. He passes out. He's like a fainting goat. Inside Angus's shop, Jeff is helping Angus to finish up the body, adding some details.
So what's the point of all this? Just a big joke?
Angus kind of takes a second.
After that story was printed, some people came back to town. I saw a family being reunited. I haven't seen my family in 5 years. My pappy once said, do one thing in your life that is truly great. I didn't think Juno ever got a chance to do that.
Your dad sounds like a great guy.
He was.
Jeff kind of steps back and takes a look at the body.
So, what are you going to do with him?
Dunno. Didn't get that far.
Well, we can't let people get their hands on him. They'll figure out that he's just a person pretty quick. Maybe someone could put on a display. They could even charge admission for it.
Aye. What kind of money-hungry charlatan would do that?
Back at the general store, Emma stalks the shelf behind the counter.
Miss Whitman!
She turns around. Jeff leans over the counter, whispering with a smile.
Can you keep a secret?
She's a hungry charlatan that would do something like that. So back at the cotton office, Hayden is still passed out on the floor. Slowly he opens his eyes and looks up, seeing the marshals kneeling over him. Mr. Hayden! His head drops like he's going to pass out again. No, you don't. Come on. They gently slap his face to revive him, and he sits up. He looks at Marshal Henry, who holds up the papers.
We can't have you falling asleep on us now. We're going to go take a walk in the cemetery.
So Hayden walks out of the cotton office with the marshals and Roy right behind. He looks around at the people, the crowd all around, attracting a few stares as he walks by. The further along they go, the more people stop what they're doing and stare. Something's happening. As they pass the sign pointing to the cemetery, people who are staring begin following, and soon enough, the entire flock of people are walking toward the cemetery. On Hayden, he looks back at the crowd hot on his heels. Oh, not this again. At the cemetery, Hayden and the marshals walk up to the gate and stop, and people quickly crowd all around them.
Lead the way, storyteller.
Hayden stands there, not knowing what to do, literally hundreds of people around him. Finally, he takes a step, and just then a man comes running in from the town yelling, "Everybody!" And they all turn around and look at him. Back in town, they found the body! A sea of people swell in the direction towards town, and the marshals rush through the crowd to get in front. Back in town, Emma pulls up in front of the general store in a wagon with the body wrapped up in the back. There's already a small crowd around her, but it immediately balloons when people rush in from the cemetery. Emma jumps off the wagon and walks to the back. The marshals charge through the crowd and stand in front of her. They flash their badges.
Stop! United States Marshals!
The crowd gasps. Emma's eyes widen.
On the order of the government of the United States, I order you to surrender that body.
Coolly, Emma grabs one of the badges.
I've never seen one of these before.
It's probably a good thing, ma'am.
So how do I know they're real?
They kind of put away their badges.
They're real.
Sure, you say that, but how do I know?
They try to muscle past her, but she gets in the way.
Please move, ma'am.
Because if you were marshals, you'd have a warrant. Law says you can't take a button without a warrant. Tell me, Marshal, do you have a warrant for a dead Martian?
The marshals kind of freeze. They just have nothing to say to that.
Because without it, I can only assume that you're just posing as marshals to get to what's rightfully mine. So, I have the right to protect it.
She whistles to YT and Cedric, who come over and move the body for her. In the crowd, Jeff and Angus watch in awe.
He's good.
He's very good.
Hayden makes his way to the front of the crowd as Cedric and YT walk behind the general store with the body. A green foot falls out of the wrapping into plain view. Hayden lets out a small scream and runs away. The marshals can do nothing but stand there angry.
You bring me that warrant, marshals, and I'll be glad to hand it over.
Someone in the crowd yells, "Let us see it!"
You will! 50 cents a head.
So outside the general store, a line of people stretches into infinity. Maybe not infinity, but a long way. Emma walks in from the side, leading Cyrus Hayden into the shed. She's got a plan in place. She's scheming. She talks to the next guy in line.
Sir, you wouldn't mind if this blind boy went in front of you, would you?
He gestures, "Go ahead." And then she leads Cyrus to the door. Who did we lose there? Who disappeared? Mark. We lost Mark. Hang on. Just real quick.
Who?
Oh, he just had to turn off his thing. Okay. Okay. So she's like, "Can we let this blind guy go in?" He gestures for them to go first. She leads Cyrus to the door. Angus kind of looks on, curious. He doesn't really know what she's doing. She kind of winks at him, goes around to the people. Yeah, turns around to the people in line.
He seems to think that if he touches the alien, it'll cure his sight. It's kind of cute.
So inside the shed, Cyrus stands in the middle of the shed.
Right, you better not screw this one up.
We don't really know who he's talking to, but behind him, William is laying behind a bench.
Just stay close to the shed and listen up.
William drops a lighted match on a pile of metal powder. Outside the shed, we see a light flash from inside the shed. Everybody gasps. After a long silent beat, the door to the shed opens and Cyrus walks out, holding his eyes and stumbling. Smoke pours out with him. He slowly stumbles onto the side of the shed and finally collapses in a sitting position against the wall, and everybody watches in horror.
Are you all right?
Slowly, he lifts his head out of his hands and looks around. He looks to the sky.
I never thought I'd see the blue sky again. It's so beautiful. And you, in the blue shirt.
The crowd gasps again. Inside the shed, William is feeding him directions through the wall of the shed, looking through a peephole.
10:30, red dress.
Outside the shed, Cyrus turns and looks at a woman wearing a red dress.
And your beautiful red dress.
He
Look
can
at it.
see me. A man in the crowd yells, "It's a miracle! The alien will save us all!" William whispers through the wall.
Emma's coming, 3 o'clock.
Cyrus stands, arms outstretched for a hug.
Miss Whitman, I can see!
Emma picks him up and hugs him, celebrating. Angus looks on, suspicious. People start shouting from the crowd, "I have a bad knee! My baby's been sick! Let me touch the alien!" So many ways to say that. Emma turns to them.
From now on, it's $2 a head.
See, huh? They had a little scheme going. They got So she walks around the back of the shed with Cyrus, and the people in the crowd graciously offer up their money. A large, ugly, fat guy is up next, and he walks in the shed. Behind the shed, Emma's hugging Cyrus, and Cedric is standing around back there.
Si, that was genius. You have a future in theater. Where's the other one?
The other what?
The other kid, the cripple.
Cedric kind of
You
looks
didn't
back
get
in the
him
shed.
out?
So inside the shed, William is still hiding below the bench where the fat, ugly guy is sitting, his butt inches away from his face. Assorted, flagellant sounds are heard. William cringes as the guy says, "Please cure my dysentery."
Do it.
Gotta have some fart jokes in there.
Got some issues.
I love on my channel, by the way, whenever I make some kind of like lowbrow joke like that, and people always comment like, "Joe, you're better than that," and I'm like, clearly I'm not.
I've known you for 20
Joke's on you. I am not better than that. All right. So outside of town, Susan Anna's kind of, okay, all right, okay. This is another really dumb, out of place, makes no sense scene. I'm just saying it right now. I wanted to get a crop circle in there. So here's how I managed to get a crop circle in there. Susan Anna's jogging through a wheat field. By the way, part of Susan Anna's character, I always wanted her to be sort of like an athlete. Like she would just kind of go for runs and stuff. So I was like actually looking at what the state of women's athletics was in 1897. It's like tennis, and that's it. Like there's really not a lot of like women's athletics. So she's just a girl who likes to run. Can we all be okay with that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
What's she running from?
Life from this town. From the clutches of the Victorian era. All right. So she's jogging through a wheat field randomly, and suddenly she trips and falls, disappearing beneath the wheat. After a beat, she stands back up, holding a random chain. Confused, she pulls on the chain, which lifts out of the wheat to a small, random pole sticking out of the ground. This makes no sense. She stretches it out and walks it into the chain, kind of pulling it tight. She starts walking around the length of the chain and notices the curved line it leaves in the wheat behind her. Then she looks to the pole and gets an idea. And now she's running around in a circle as fast as she can. Why is this happening? Anyway.
Dun, dun, dun.
So cut back to downtown. The spiritualists are conducting another seance around a Ouija board. I'm sorry, a spirit board. That's a trademark term. RLM was talking about that yesterday. Did you watch that,
Yes.
Nick?
Yes,
Yeah,
I
okay.
did.
That's what I was doing last night. So anyway, as they chant, the pointer starts to move. Outside the shed that the alien is in, Emma's taking money at the front of the shed. The line is finally starting to get shorter, and the next person up is a man on crutches being helped along by his mother. The man on crutches says, "I heard a rumor it could heal me. Emma has an attack of conscience. The mother's like, his leg muscles don't work right, never have. We tried everything. And they stare up at her, their last hope. Emma chooses her words carefully.
All you can do is believe.
So she takes their money and they walk in, and she kind of looks at the money in her hand, feeling dirty. And after a moment, the mother screams. Emma jumps and darts to the back of the shed, and behind the shed, Emma stops in complete shock. The man on crutches is standing on his own and taking tentative walking steps. The mother's crying with happiness, and Emma's just completely speechless. A crowd forms around them. A man walks up to Emma, shoving his money at her. "My turn, let me go!" Emma looks down at her box of money, and her conscience overcomes her, and she walks away without taking his money. So something weird happened there. So at Angus's shop, Sarah's addressing an envelope to Ireland. Angus sits across staring at her, and then she looks up at him and smiles.
Your mother's going to be so glad to hear from you, Angus.
He kind of sits silently, and she looks back up at him again.
Boy, you're so nice to me.
You're a really nice guy.
Nobody else thinks so.
Everybody thinks so.
No, they think I'm a really nice Mick.
Well, that doesn't matter to me.
Oh, I have something for you.
So he stands and he walks across the shop, grabbing an item off the counter that's wrapped in paper, and he hands it to her. So she unwraps it to reveal a beautiful wire sculpture of an angel. She gasps.
You made this?
I just wanted to say thank you for everything. You've been a perfect angel to me.
Oh, it's beautiful. Thank you.
She stands and gives him a big hug. He holds her tight. We all know where this is going. She gives him a peck on the cheek, and then neither one lets go. He buries his face into her neck. Another little peck on the cheek. She gives him one more. And then they go to peck each other, and they wind up in a lip lock. They kiss for a good bit before she finally backs away. And they stand in front of each other, avoiding contact for a second. And she kind of collects her things. She turns back to him, raising the angel.
Thank you.
She starts to leave, but then returns to him, giving him one more little gentle peck on the cheek before hurrying out the door. And he just kind of stands there in shock. Nice sound effect.
I'm shocked. I'm totally shocked.
Totally shocked. So he kind of looks down and realizes that she left a sweater behind and smiles.
Classic leave behind.
Classic leave behind.
She'll be back.
I didn't know that was a move, but
Totally.
no girl ever left her sweater.
It's
with
an
me.
old Irish move.
Anyway. So back at the wheat field, the farmer is walking across the wheat field. He comes to the spot where all the wheat had been flattened, and he looks up and says, "What the hell?" And he looks around and finds himself standing on the edge of a large crop circle. I'm I'm going to read this scene, but it's stupid. The spiritualists are sitting around a table with the seance over. They're looking at a piece of paper, and on the paper it has a string of letters.
Are you going to read the letters? Or
No, go ahead. It doesn't
S-E-H-A-N?
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Maybe we're just not meant to contact spirits from other planets.
Well, we obviously contacted it. This is Apollo talking. It's just in a code we can't decipher.
How about this? Mars is the 4th planet from the sun, right? So go up 4 letters on each one of these and see what you get.
I love how she's so chill, you know? The
They're
spiritualists are
spiritualists.
just like so
This is
down and
It's 1970.
whatever, man, you know? It's just how it is.
Wow.
Just gotta go with it. Sorry, I'm gonna mess with the audio again.
Cyborg man.
So basically they figure out that if Mars is the 4th planet from the sun, if you shift all the letters over, what would it spell out? And it winds up spelling out "will return." And they all look at each other. So now we're back in the downtown. The scene is utter chaos. First, we see Apollo addressing a fair-sized crowd. Another Martian spaceship will be coming through here very soon. We've communicated with the spaceman from beyond the grave. And we have certifiable proof that another ship will be returning for the dead body, man. And then a farmer storms the platform. No, it's already here, and it left a large circle in the middle of my crop. And Apollo's like, a circle in your crop? Yeah. What would you call a thing like that? God, I'm funny. Across the way, Bob Waldrop is at it again.
This body is what the government doesn't want you to know. They have the ability to cure anything, and they've been hiding it all this time.
Not far away, Brother Carl puts his own spin on things.
Indeed, the Bible says, a being from the sky shall heal the sick. And this is a sign of the impending apocalypse where Jesus shall return to the earth and strike down all you masturbators and fornicators.
That's exactly what Brother Carl's like. So then the wagon crashes to the ground and Brother Carl with it. Reverend Starks walks away smiling, throwing a large screw over his shoulder. So we have this battle of the reverends in this town now. Across the way, Emma hurries down the street to Angus's shop and she lets herself in. Once she's in, she closes the door behind her and turns around.
Angus!
Angus is laying on a bench and he snaps up, still holding Sarah's sweater and smelling it. And he kind of...
Angus! You and Wonder Boy need to get that body out of there tonight. Right now.
What's the problem?
Those marshals have been eyeing it all day. I doubt they'll let it stay there overnight.
Yeah, we saw them.
She holds up the money box.
And here.
He cracks it open and looks at all this money.
You're giving us all the money.
I don't want it.
She heads out.
Now, Angus.
So she had a real stroke of conscience there. Just can't deal with it. So external downtown day. The dusk is falling. Angus and Jeff are walking toward the general store. They're going to go get that body. And the celebrating has already begun. The music and the drums echo through the town.
So the guy could just suddenly walk.
Same so.
Weird. You know, I read about this thing called the placebo effect, where if you believe a treatment works, then it actually...
Shite.
Angus sees something and freezes. He holds Jeff back. And he looks up, and the marshals are walking across to the shed. Jeff looks to the general store and sees Emma standing in front. She sees the marshals and goes to head him off. Jeff pushes on Angus.
I've got an idea. Come on.
So they run behind a row of buildings. Jeff and Angus sneak up behind the shed. We can hear Emma arguing with the marshals on the other side. Angus runs up to the shed and quietly opens the door. Jeff grabs a wheelbarrow, leaning against the wall. Outside, Emma is arguing with the marshals.
Get out of the way now, ma'am.
What? Do you have that warrant? Let me see it.
You're on the verge of obstructing justice in about 10 seconds.
She looks around for Jeff and Angus, kind of trying to stay in their way. So inside the shed, Angus is having trouble getting the body down in the dark. The voices are getting closer to the door. It's getting tight. Outside, Emma's finally backed up against the door. Marshal Thomas lights a lantern, and Marshal Henry pulls out a set of handcuffs and dangles them in front of her, threatening her.
Last chance.
Finally, she's like, yeah, fine. He gets out of the way. Marshal Henry opens the door, and inside the shed, he walks in with a lantern, and the body's gone. Emma looks shocked. They actually got it out in time. So they all look around the room trying to open the back door, but it doesn't budge because on the outside, the door's wedged shut, and Jeff and Angus are running off into the distance with the body in the wheelbarrow. Inside the shed, Marshal Henry has had it. He sneers at her. He shrugs his shoulders, as bewildered as they are. Oh, no, sorry. She shrugs her shoulders. Like, they're just like, what is going on? So he storms past her.
I've had it with this stupid job. Oh, I need a drink.
He's done. He's just done. So, at the cemetery, it's night. Jeff and Angus throw the last few shovelfuls of dirt onto Juno's grave. Finally, they stab the shovels into the ground and rest, catching their breath. The mood is heavy.
Someone should say something.
Right. Well, yes, that's me. Well, I barely knew him. People thought I did, but I didn't.
Jeff's kind of keeping an eye out for Roy so they don't get
But
arrested.
I think he was a broken man who once dreamed of doing big things. And in death, he brought hope, even health, to hundreds of people. So I say we raise a glass to Juno. Be he fulfilled in his destiny.
He does the sign of the cross. Jeff nods his head. And then they plant a rudimentary headstone with a picture of a cigar-shaped object on it. So here's another tie-in to what actually happened in Aurora. Somewhere I saw this. The actual plot where the alien supposedly is buried belongs to someone named J.N.O. Kennedy. So that's where I got Juno Kennedy from. Now, I don't know what J.N.O. stands for, but I changed it to Juno. But anyway, and supposedly there was originally a tombstone that had like a sort of a little carving of a spaceship on it. And after a while, half of it was missing and the other half disappeared in the 80s sometime. That's the story. Anyway, so I just wanted to point out that there was a sort of Juno Kennedy, and that's where I got that name from. Anyway, so back at the downtown, we're having another big celebration. It's in full swing, music playing, people dancing. Jeff and Angus are walking in from the road to the cemetery and encounter a large group of people sitting in chairs on the ground, staring up at the sky. Patrick Case is one of them. Jeff approaches him, and Angus goes on to the watering hole.
Hey, what's going on here?
Oh, didn't you hear? The spiritualists say they contacted the spaceman's spirit, and another ship is coming.
Jeff takes a moment to kind of stare at the sky with them and smirks at it. So Angus steps up to the deck of the bar. He looks back and sees Sarah clapping with the music across the way, surrounded by some of the upper-class gentlemen. He stares at her, starts toward her, and stops himself. He goes back in the bar. He fixes his hair in a mirror, and as he does, he sees Roy across the room looking at him. Oop, that's bad news. He casually glances at her. In a panic attack, he goes to the bar where Lyle is completely wrapped up in a conversation with April.
One whiskey, please.
Lyle just kind of pours whatever he grabs, never taking his eyes off of April, and Angus downs it and recoils under the taste of it. So outside on Jeff, he's sort of walking around the crowd, and he sees something, and he stops, shocked. Across the street, through the crowd of people, he sees Susan Anna staring back at him, but she's not in her usual getup. Her hair's down, there's some makeup evident. She's wearing a nice dress, corset and all. She's stunning. This is the she's all that moment. Sixpence None the Richer is now playing in the background.
Yes.
So they lock eyes, and she gives a playful little curtsy, a little embarrassed. He smiles and makes his way over to her. Once there, he struggles with what to say.
Hey.
Well, you asked for it. Ta-da.
I mean, you look, wow.
And she just kind of smiles.
Don't get used to it.
He suddenly becomes self-conscious and starts kind of laying down his hair.
Thought I really screwed things up last time.
And then she's like helping him smooth down his hair.
Oh, you did. And then yesterday, one of my little goblin sisters pointed out while she hadn't seen me crying in a while. Didn't take long to figure out why.
Her hand kind of drifts to the side of his face and lingers on his cheek. And he smiles as they gaze into each other's eyes. Finally, she breaks it off and grabs his hand.
Well, I'm gussied up. Let's dance.
Let's dance. It's shaking bacon. I helped. So I'm the only one laughing at myself. Cool. So she leads them to the dancing crowd. Jeff can't get the smile off of his face. Now back on Angus, he walks through the crowd where Sarah is sitting and kind of sighs, preparing himself, and he finally gets up to her and she smiles when she sees him.
Evening, Sarah.
Hi, Angus.
I was thought you'd like to dance.
So she kind of glances around at these upper crust people surrounding her, and one of them's the mayor.
No thanks, Angus. Maybe later?
She kind of looks away, ignoring him. Angus looks at the wealthier men around her who are leering at him, and he waits for her to look back at him, but she doesn't. She's completely blowing him off in front of this crowd. Not cool, Sarah. After a long beat, he kind of turns and walks away, but stops. He's fuming. He turns back around.
I talked to the doctor
Excuse me?
about that sore you showed me. He said it definitely sounded like you got it from someone else. He has some ointment for it, but you can't wear any underwear for a while.
She's kind of looking around embarrassed, like the other people around her are like looking at each other, disgusted.
What are you talking about?
In hindsight, it was a good idea to play that game of show me yours and we'll show you mine.
She's like, what?
I wasn't keen on it at first, but it's always good to catch these things early.
She can't take it anymore. She jumps up and grabs him, walking away from the group to a private area.
What are you doing?
Oh, are you embarrassed?
Yes.
Good.
She sighs. She knows what he's getting at.
Angus, I'm sorry, but
She has to like pick her words really carefully here.
what happened the other day was... Look, I like you, okay? But we can't. Those people trust me with their children. They let me have my job. I'm the school teacher. That's a high position in this town, and you're...
A really nice Mick.
God, that's not fair.
You don't say.
She kind of hangs her head, looks back up.
Angus, I'm sorry.
He doesn't look at her. She waits a beat, then walks away. Angus stands there alone in the dark, upset, his arms crossed. Looks like a tear might form any second when...
Those American girls are really something, aren't they?
Sorry, hang on. And Angus quickly turns around to see Roy standing in the shadows and walking toward him. He's livid.
Okay. Just chew you up and spit you out. Don't know about overseas. Maybe they're a little nicer there.
He gets up in his face. Angus is not in the mood.
Mm-hmm. Or maybe everybody over there's a bunch of pussies. You mind telling me what just went on here?
Oh, I wouldn't mind if it was any of your business.
Oh, it's my business, all right. You argue with my girlfriend. You argue with me. So, just what were we arguing about?
Well, I was trying to keep you away from me, but you couldn't help yourself because your boyfriend couldn't find his way around the bed with a bloody mop.
Smack! Roy punches him in the stomach and then smacks him in the face, sending him to the ground, and stands over him.
Listen here. I told you to keep your nose clean, Mick. I guess you people never listen.
Gives him one last kick in the back and walks away. He just lays there, the breath knocked out of him, and finally he sucks in some pained breaths. He's awake, but he doesn't get up. So back on Jeff and Susanna, they're dancing. Jeff has a thought and smiles.
You want to hear a secret?
What's that?
You were right,
About what?
Angus.
Takes me a
Are
second
you
to figure
serious?
Yep.
He's behind this?
Shh.
I told you it was him, but you said I was wrong.
No. You were right.
How do you know this?
I've kind of been helping him.
Shut up.
And you know that dead alien?
Yeah.
You will never believe.
Before he can
Mind if
finish,
I
a hand
cut
taps
in?
on her shoulder.
Mind if I cut in?
She looks up and it's absolutely shocked to see Herb, her fiance, standing behind her.
Oh my God, Herb.
Hey,
Oh, he gives her a big hug and lifts her off the ground, smiling and happy. She looks back at Jeff, conflicted.
wow, look at you. You look great. I missed you.
Yeah. What are you doing here?
Well, I've came back for you.
She stares at him blankly.
I said I would.
Jeff stands there looking on, crushed, and then Herb turns to him.
Hey, Jeff. Thanks for looking after her while I was gone.
He sticks out his hand to shake, and Jeff takes it.
No problem.
Now, sorry to have to take her away from you, but we have some catching up to do.
So she squeals and a little giggle escapes as he carries her away. Jeff stands there completely deflated, watching them walk away, but she's looking back at him, upset. This was all awful. So Angus sits alone in his shop. A little bit later, he's holding a handkerchief to his lip, a little bloody, his world crushed. The shop door opens and Jeff walks in just as destroyed. He drags his feet and walks over and sits next to Angus. They just kind of sit in silence for a long beat.
Roy?
Aye. Herb?
Yep.
They can hear the celebrating people outside.
All those happy people out there.
Bastards.
So, what do we do now?
About what?
About the spaceman.
We bury the spaceman.
They don't know that.
They're bastards.
Jeff kind of thinks for a bit and then walks over to the window, pulling the curtain aside. Outside, some people in the crowd are watching the skies.
The spiritualists spread a rumor that there would be another ship. What if we gave them one? What if we flew a spaceship right over town? I mean, just imagine it.
Have you gone daft?
He stands and walks over to Jeff.
Do you hear your own voice right now? Fly a spaceship over town. Yes, beautiful, Jeffrey. But there's one problem. We can't bloody fly!
We'll figure it out.
I've got another idea.
So he walks over to the money tin and opens it up.
We take our ill-gotten gains, move on with our lives, and put an end to this charade.
Or we take these ill-gotten gains and we do something truly great.
Angus sneers at him for invoking his father.
How?
So, we cut to a tarp being flung off of a small glider lit by Angus's lamp. So we keep in mind Jeff is like a genius and has a whole shed full of stuff that doesn't work.
There it is.
Almighty. Does it work?
At this size, yeah. At the size we would need it to be, probably not.
Why not?
Not enough lift. I tried scaling it up once, but it was too heavy.
So, what good is it?
We can study it, add to it, see what works and build on it.
But that could take months.
Well, then we better get busy.
Amazed, Angus looks up at Jeff. He smiles.
Can I see it work?
So now we got a montage of the best around. Yeah. So they're at a hillside at night. Angus is watching as Jeff takes a running start and throws the glider hard. It takes off in a definite glide, but then just quickly travels downwards. It hits the ground intact. Angus smiles at Jeff. We see a montage of clips showing them building the airship. You can see Jeff sketching his design by candlelight. During the day, Jeff is showing Angus the design on the sketch under the glider is like this metallic hull made to look like a spaceship. Angus opens the money box Emma gave him, and they're just like pulling money from this to build this thing. Angus works on a life-size version of the toy glider that Jeff had made. The frame is constructed made out of wood. In the schoolhouse, Jeff sits at his desk sketching control mechanisms with pulleys to lift the flaps on the top of the original sketch. Jeff builds tiny flaps into the model a little bit later on, and then outside of Angus' shop at night, Angus walks up to the back door of his shop with a wheelbarrow full of newspapers and canvas. He opens the back door, revealing a semi-complete glider inside. He rolls in the wheelbarrow, looks around one last time, closes the door. So they're like making sort of a papier-mâché metal hull that's lightweight and everything. Anyway, so the wings of the glider are covered with canvas. Downtown a little bit later, the celebrations are continuing. Many are looking up into the sky. Susan Ann is kind of sitting with Herb, who can't keep his hands off of her, and she kind of... outside the hilltop at night, Jeff turns up a wing flap on one side of the model, which now has the metal hull on the bottom, and they watch as it sort of corkscrews down. So he's excited because it has a turning mechanism that works. Angus is less enthusiastic because it's still crashing. God, there's a lot here. Okay. Where did we go? Okay, so Jeff is building flaps and controls into the glider. Jeff is sketching lights across the hull. Jeff shows Angus an early light bulb. So he's really excited. He's like, cool, light stuff. Angus is confused, and then he connects a wire from a bulb to a generator. He cranks the generator. The light bulb glows. Angus is amazed. It's still early days for that kind of thing. Later in the shop, Jeff and Angus suspend the glider, hull, lights, and all to measure the weight. Jeff checks the calculations.
It's too heavy.
He sees a picture of a Zeppelin on the front of a newspaper. The money box is open again, the stash dwindling. So now they're like trying helium. They put some helium in there to try to like give it a little bit lighter than air stuff. They're tinkering with the model. They're back at the hilltop again. Jeff throws it again, but it's no better. He's getting more frustrated.
It needs more lift.
Needs more lift.
Needs more lift.
So yeah, Jeff's messing with the design some more. And then they put together a plan. Angus is pointing to this topological map, sketching out the plan for Jeff.
This hill is out of sight from downtown, so we roll down a ramp on that hill, get it in the air, fly up us over this heather hill, buzz over the town, disappear over this hill, and ditch the machine in this tank. When people show up, we'll swear it flew over the horizon.
The bottom of the hill is lower than downtown. We're going to need even more lift.
So, get more lift.
Damn it! So Angus is building the ramp down the hill. Jeff's redesigning the model over and over again. They throw it. This one just does a nosedive. Jeff pounds the ground with frustration. So later it's downtown. Jeff walks through the crowd, which is becoming more subdued. No music or celebrations of any kind. He walks up to Patrick Case, who's leaning against a wall watching things.
How's your story going?
It's going away.
He points at some people that are packing up their wagon.
I thought the crowd looked thinner.
Word has it that if something doesn't happen by Sunday, most of these people are heading out of here.
That's 2 days.
Jeff scans the crowd and something catches his eye. It's Susan Anna standing next to Herb, who's engaged in a conversation with a group of men. She's looking back at him. They lock eyes for a beat. She smiles, and then he just kind of walks away toward Angus's shop. And then she kind of contemplates this. Inside Angus's shop, Jeff walks in and goes to his desk littered with books and papers. He lights a lamp and looks over his calculations, rubbing his eyes with frustration. He hears the sound of the shop door opening and barely looks up.
I think we might be screwed. We only have 2 days.
I knew you guys were up to something.
He realizes that soon as Susan Anna and quickly tries to cover up his notes.
What are you should not be here.
What is this?
She starts to pull a tarp off of a model glider, and he jumps in front and stops her.
Don't!
They're close together now. It's uncomfortable.
Sorry. I've just been in a lot of suspense since we last talked. You kind of left me hanging there.
Oh, I left you hanging.
I'm sorry. I didn't know what to do.
He's your fiance. I get it.
You okay?
He nods.
Are we okay?
He stares at her. She stares back. Finally, he breaks the tension.
We will be.
He pulls the tarp off the model.
You can help me get this thing to fly.
You're building a flying machine?
Trying to. It's been 1 step forward and 3 steps back. I can't get enough lift to keep it up in the air.
He mopes back to the desk and sits down.
And you think I can help?
I've been through 23 iterations, different wing profiles, lifting gases, ailerons, high camber, low camber. I just cannot find the right combination.
He rests his chin on his hands on the desk, and she walks over and sits across from him.
Have you tried strapping a bunch of birds to it?
He kind of huffs through his nose at her joke, and then she notices something on the desk.
Do that again.
What?
That huff thing you just did.
So he's kind of confused, but he does it again. And we see what she sees. A page of notes spans 2 books on his desk, and when he huffs, the page dips down.
That's interesting. The page goes down when you breathe under it. Seems like it would go up if you're blowing more air under there.
So he's kind of like realizing that it's kind of weird, and he thinks about what she just was talking about.
That's weird, right?
So now she kind of turns back to the model, just kind of like blowing off what just happened. But Jeff is now overwhelmed with curiosity. He huffs again.
So how big is this supposed to be?
So now the wheels are turning in Jeff's head. He huffs again, and then his eyes go wide with an idea. He takes a deep breath and blows underneath the paper, watching it sag lower and lower. And then he blows over the top of the paper and watches it lift off the book. And he sits up, eyes wide with astonishment.
Oh my God, of course.
Of course what?
You're a genius. You solved it.
He gets up from the desk and unrolls a large diagram on the workbench.
I did?
Grab me a pencil.
What?
A pencil. Grab me a pencil.
So she rushes to grab a pencil from his desk, and he hurriedly alters the sketch. And she's kind of like, cool. So back to the little montage thing of Jeff fixing the model. Now Susan Ann's helping out, and they construct airfoils on the wings. So Jeff explains what he did to Angus later on that night, that night at the hilltop.
I had it all wrong, see? I was trying to make the air push it up, but it should be pulling it up.
Huh?
See, when air passes faster over the top, then the air pressure drops, meaning the pressure underneath the wing is higher than above it, and it rises.
Huh?
Watch.
So Jeff launches it, it soars, and they all just stand there and watch in awe. Susan Ann is with them, by the way. So Angus puts his hand on Jeff's shoulder, excited.
We've got a lot of work to do before tomorrow night.
So now, going back to this little montage, throughout the day, Jeff, Angus, and Susan Anna work tirelessly on the main airship. They empty out the cash box. Just as the sun is going down later in the day, they rush through and barely make it in time. And in their rush, we notice that one of the pulleys for the controls is loose. Night comes. So at the edge of town, the three of them move the glider under the cover of dark.
You got the flight path, right?
Oh, we sent that to Susan Anna. So they stop pushing for a second, and he turns to her.
Okay, well, you should probably get back to town then. You know where to look for us in case. You know.
Yeah, I know.
She looks nervous.
Hey, it'll be okay. I've thought of everything.
She kind of struggles with saying something.
And I can't thank you enough for...
And she gives him a little quick kiss.
Just be careful.
She turns and runs back toward town. Jeff kind of takes in the moment before turning back to Angus, and they continue pushing.
She's engaged, you know.
So back downtown, it's very subdued. The crowd kind of mulls around. Some of them still looking up to the sky. Many are packing to leave. Back at the hilltop, Jeff and Angus sit in a glider, which sits on top of a rail cart. At the top of they're sitting on a rail cart at the top of a set of tracks going straight down a hill. The glider is being held back by a rope tied around a tree behind them. The angle's steep, and they stare down at the drop.
We are gonna die.
Or we're gonna make history.
We're gonna make history.
We're gonna be history.
Oh, sorry. We're gonna make history, but we're gonna be history. There you go.
Just remember, I'll pull up, bank right, over that hill, glide over town, left 10 degrees, over the other hill, set it down in the water.
As he talks, he pulls on two levers in front of him which move the flaps, and the loose pulley wheel wobbles dangerously.
And I turn this crank to work the lights.
He's got a generator in his lap.
Right, simple. Well, Time's wasting.
He reaches back and ties a rope around his waist like a seatbelt. Angus does the same, and then Jeff grabs a release lever.
Here we go. Ready?
Wait. I know I'm not the most popular person in this town. Thanks for being my friend.
Oh. He reaches out his hand to shake, and Jeff takes it.
My honor.
And he grabs a release again.
3, 2, 1.
He jerks on the release lever. They hold their breaths, but nothing happens. They sit, eyes closed. Suddenly they open them and exhale. Jeff jiggles the lever.
Wrong with this thing? Yeah.
Suddenly the rope snaps and they surge down the ramp at the top of their lungs as they approach the end. And when they get there, the rail cart plunges into the ground, but the glider remains airborne. Jeff jerks up on the levers and they soar upward. Both of them scream with excitement as they look down at the ground below them.
Lights!
Angus cranks on the generator and the lights flicker on. So now we're downtown and one of the Skywatchers sees something. What the hell is that? And immediately a slew of people crowd around and look. And on the horizon, the lights shine behind the hill, creating a twilight effect. More and more people join in until the word is spread throughout town. The lights get brighter and closer until finally the craft emerges over the hilltop, lights glowing, and approaches the town slowly and silently. The crowd goes nuts. Thank you.
Oh my goodness.
People running around screaming, some scared, others in awe, all of them fascinated. Hayden sees it. What does he do? Passes out. Spiritualists stand on top of their wagon, waving at the alien. Hey, come take us. Patrick Case smiles like a kid in the candy store. Susan Anna watches from the front of the courthouse, kind of catching her breath. In the plane, Jeff looks down at the people scattering and screaming, and he turns to Angus.
Look at him! Look what we're doing!
Angus smiles, still turning the crank. They're right above the town people. And then, tragedy. The wobbly pulley on the left wing finally breaks off and the flap swings down, and they bank a hard left.
What are you doing? We're going left.
I didn't do anything!
He looks over and sees the other flap hanging down.
Shit! The right flap is broken!
What do we do?
There's nothing we can do!
On the ground, the crowd watches as the ship starts flying in circles above them. Susan Anna sees it and knows that something's wrong.
Uh-oh.
The townspeople panic. Many get on their knees and pray. The plane seems to be circling closer to the water tower. And then in the plane, Angus is panicking.
We're going to get caught. Even if we live, they're going to kill us.
Oh, Jeff looks ahead.
Oh no.
What?
Water tower.
What?
Water tower!
The plane is heading right toward the water tower. Angus and Jeff scream as they get closer and closer, then collide with it. The metal hull catches the top of the tower, ripping it apart and sending the glider hurtling toward the ground. Where the townspeople watch in horror and they run behind the buildings where the glider disappeared, Cedric and YT stand to the side unfazed. Cedric just shakes his head.
The Martians can't fly for shit.
For shit.
Behind the buildings, people stream out of everywhere, crowding around the wreckage, still settling to the ground. But they maintain a perimeter around it, not getting too close. Susan Anna rushes to the front of the crowd. Outside the bar, the marshals sit, beers in hand, plastered drunk.
No. If I had really seen that, I might have to report it.
On the wreckage, the circle around the wreckage creeps in closer, led by Roy, Chester Lids, and the mayor. There's literally 1,000 people surrounding them. They approach the wreckage. Susan Anna tries to push through, but Chester pushes her back.
Everybody stand back.
Roy and Chester close in alone, holding up a lamp. The glider's upside down with the metal hull on top. Chester moves the hull with his foot, and then with a shaking hand, he reaches down and flips it over, and their eyes go wide. Everybody gasps. Angus just lies amid the rubble, awake, squinting at the lamp. He reaches over to where Jeff should be, but he's not there. The rope he used to tie himself in is broken.
Angus?
The crowd looks at each other confused. Angus?
Angus?
What the hell?
Angus sits up, unhurt. Sarah moves to the front of the crowd to get a better look, and she's astonished. Susan Anna searches desperately for Jeff, but he's nowhere to be found.
Sheriff.
Roy seethes with anger. Chester kneels down to Angus.
Angus, is this your doing?
Angus kind of looks around, seeing all the people, and nods silently. Bob Raldrup angrily jumps out from the crowd.
This whole thing's been a hoax. He was playing us for fools.
The crowd immediately turns into a mob. Screaming ensues.
No.
People call for attention.
We hate you.
Masturbation.
Susan Anna gets pushed to the ground and gets pulled up by Herb. The crowd closes in, led by one particularly angry man. Angus stands looking around for Jeff. The man raises his hand to grab him and then finds a gun barrel against his forehead. Roy's grabbed Angus and holds the man at bay.
Hold on. There ain't gonna be any damn lynchings in my town.
Roy had his hero moment. So he starts back into town with Angus, kind of keeping him there. Chester's at his side, gun drawn. There's just the crowd, and they're all angry and menacing, but they're like taking him back to the jail.
All right, now we're going to take in Mr. Kelly here and see justice is done. But in a court of law, I suggest you all stand back, or better yet, just go on home.
Sarah stands back and watches, scared. The marshals watch from the side. Marshal Thomas is like, I may be drunk, but Roy may make himself a good marshal after all.
You are drunk.
So Roy gets past the crowd and rushes him off to the jailhouse. In the crowd, the Robinsons stand amongst the crowd. The boy pulls on the dad's leg.
What now, Pa?
Nothing. We're going home.
The Robinsons walk off, and someone sounds out behind them, Amen.
Man.
Oh, this whole thing was a big old shyster. The crowd disperses back to their wagons. In a ravine, Jeff lies motionless, hidden in a ravine. His head lays next to a large rock, a major cut across his forehead. After a beat, the sound of the crowd stirs him, and he twitches. He reaches up and feels his head. In the jailhouse, just after, Angus is thrown into a cell. The door slams shut. Roy peers through the bars like a rabid dog. Angus looks up at him.
A thank you would work.
Thank you.
So Roy walks away. Angus sits there defeated. Back in the street, Susan Anna struggles to get to the wreckage to find Jeff, but Herb holds her back.
Susan Anna, you need to get back home.
I'm fine.
It's not safe for you out here.
I'm fine.
So she runs to the water tower and climbs up to the side, looking for a better view, scans the area, unable to see much in the dark. Finally, she sees some motion in the ravine.
Jeff!
On Jeff, he struggles to stand but loses his balance immediately and falls into a stream of water. Behind him, Susan Anna climbs down into the ravine, splashing towards him. She sees the rock where he smashed his head and notices all the blood. Even more panicked, she rushes over to him and turns him on his back.
Jeff, can you hear me? Come on, stay with me.
His eyes just keep rolling back in his head, and she listens for his breath and looks around for a way out of the ravine.
All right, come on. I've got to get you to the dock. Come on.
She struggles to lift him over her shoulder. So outside the jailhouse, Roy walks out of the jailhouse where Sarah is waiting there.
Is he okay?
He's fine. So am I, if you cared.
I care.
Oh, he stares at her with a scowl.
I'm actually staring at you, Joe, with a scowl. No. I know. Okay.
So he's telling her that he knows that she had a whole thing with Angus there.
Got it. I'm sorry. That my beat was my tone was my color was
okay.
wrong. Hold on. There we go. I know. Okay.
And she lowers her head. Her face tells him everything.
Was that not enough?
You kind of feel for Roy right here. So she can't answer with her words. Her face shows the conflict, so hurt, he just kind of walks away from her, shaking his head. She sighs, upset. She watches Roy as the marshals approach him and start a conversation. Then suddenly from behind her,
Somebody help!
she turns around and sees Susan Anna at the top of the ravine carrying a half-conscious and very bloody Jeff.
Oh my God.
Jeff is plopped down on the steps of the doorstep of, where are we? I think we're at the bar.
Doorstep.
So he's still unconscious. Sarah takes a kerchief from around her neck and wraps his head. Lyle's with her, with April behind him.
Prop his legs up.
Lyle does so, and then she taps on his wrist, checking his pulse. Susan Anna brushes his head, comforting him.
I'll go get the doc.
That was Lyle. So he runs off. Susan Anna watches him leave, then turns back to Jeff, sort of patting his hand.
Come on, Jeff, stay with us.
Stay with us. Stay away from the light. She wipes the dirt off his face. His eyes kind of open briefly, and he looks at her, and she smiles down on him, and he closes his eyes. So we cut to Sarah's guest room night. The doc has closed his bag. Jeff lays on the bed unconscious, his head bandaged. Susan Anna cleans blood off of her with a towel across the room. Sarah stands at the door.
Lost a lot of blood, but he's stable. Just watch him. He should be okay.
He walks out of the room.
Thanks, Doc.
Sarah walks out with him, leaving Susan Anna alone with Jeff. After a beat, she kind of walks over and sits next to him, holds his hand. Emotion wells inside of her. Tears form in her eyes briefly, but she shakes it off and wipes him away. So in a montage, she kind of stays with him the whole night, first by his side, then sleeping in a chair across the room. In the morning, she gives him a kiss on the cheek and walks out. So, dissolve to the next morning. Jeff wakes up. He looks around, confused. He sits up and holds his head in pain. And then he looks out the window. Downtown's empty. But inside the courthouse, Angus sits before Judge Proctor. The courtroom is packed. All the townspeople are there. Jeff walks in and sits in the audience, the bandage still around his head. Patrick Case is watching the outcome of his story, and the marshals stand in the back as Mayor Willis speaks to the judge in front of the courtroom.
This is not a matter of a hoax, ladies and gentlemen. This isn't about someone who fooled a bunch of people. This is about civic pride.
You get some random cheers and amens. Amen.
Yeah. Hell yes.
This man didn't just make a fool of himself. He made a fool of this whole town, and to an audience far more vast than has ever heard of this great town before. A month ago, nobody knew about Aurora. Yesterday, the whole nation knew about the spaceman, and today, the whole nation thinks we're a joke. All because of this man. He has disgraced our town. He has disgraced all of us, destroyed our dignity, all for his own sick pleasure.
Anguish kind of stares at the table in front of him. He's just completely detached from what's happening.
As this town's mayor and prosecuting attorney, I hold this man responsible, and I motion that Angus Kelly and S.E. Hayden, who is also partially to blame, stand trial for this unforgivable act of fraud.
He gets some applause from the crowd. There's some cheering. Angus closes his eyes. Hayden reacts shocked. What did I do, right? Emma kind of shakes her head, disappointed that it came to this. Judge Proctor bangs the gavel.
We've heard from the prosecution. Mr. Kelly, do you have anything to say in your defense?
Angus stands, catching glares from all around him.
We just want to say we did this alone. It wasn't meant to be a joke. If I stepped on toes, I'm sorry.
A man yells from the back, "Go to hell, Mick!"
There.
The crowd starts shouting with vitriol.
Vitriol.
Masturbation.
Peas and carrots.
Watermelon.
Boots and pants. The gavel bangs. Angus sits back down. Jeff shakes his head and stands up.
Your Honor.
The whole crowd turns toward him.
I'm sorry, Judge. Can I say something?
Go ahead.
Angus is lying.
Peas and carrots.
Murmur.
Masturbation.
That gets me every time. He didn't work alone. I helped him. And if he's going to be put on trial, so should I.
Jeff walks to the front and sits next to Angus, and the crowd murmurs him more. Angus kind of glares at Jeff because he was trying to protect him. Jeff just raises an eyebrow like, what can you do? The judge bangs the gavel.
Order. Now, if somebody else has anything to say.
Suddenly,
I do, Your Honor.
The entire room looks to the back, where Sarah comes walking through the doors to the front of the courtroom. The men take off their hats as she passes.
May I?
The judge motions for an approval. She looks over at Angus. He's surprised and confused. She faces the crowd.
What these two men did was immoral. It was manipulative, and it was wrong. But if these two are guilty, then I say we are all guilty. Let's face it. Let's face it. We all knew this thing was bogus. We all knew Essie's stories. But when the people showed up and the money rolled in, we all played along. We prospered. And for the first time in years, we prospered. And we didn't have any problem with it being immoral. But now that it's over, judgment is being handed down.
Yeah, and people kind of like look around like, yeah, okay, she's got a point there.
So let's judge Angus. What has he done? Miss Whitman, don't you have a new roof? And look at little William Hayden back there. Finally able to get around without riding on his brother's back.
William sits in the back of the room with a new wheelchair.
Our cotton farmers are going to make an actual profit this year from deals they made because of this. Businesses have opened on the main thoroughfare that we forgot existed. And you know why? Because this thing brought us together. We pulled together as a community, and we thrived. Folks, excuse you. Folks, this didn't destroy our dignity. It restored our dignity.
Now even the mayor looks confused.
All because of these two. And what did they get? A concussion. Thrown in jail. And now you, who profited from what they did, want to condemn them? What kind of dignity is that?
Yeah, people starting to agree with it.
Sheriff's point. I agree with that. That's a great idea.
Yeah.
They say God works in mysterious ways, and we asked for God. We asked for a miracle. Well, I say he sent us one, and its name is Angus Kelly.
Yes, that's right. She sold us over.
Angus.
She won us over with
Angus.
this.
Amen.
Thank you.
Sarah looks at Angus, who smiles at her. She smiles back and sits behind him. The Judge Proctor bangs the gavel.
Order! Order! Mr. Kelly, you willfully destroyed public property, and for that, you may face misdemeanor charges. And for the greater count of fraud...
The judge takes a long, dramatic beat, collecting his thoughts. He looks around the room.
I believe you knowingly perpetrated a fraud on the people of Aurora, our guests, and even on the whole nation. But I also believe that your intentions were not stained with the malice of forethought, and seeing as all the good that it's done for the people here, this case will not go to trial. You are hereby cleared of all charges.
Hooray!
I feel like I should point out this is not remotely how courts work.
Somebody died.
Hooray!
It's my court, and I will run it the way I feel like it.
You heard the man, Joe. You heard the man.
You got a problem.
The man spoke. So there you go. So yeah, a rousing cheer goes up in the courtroom. Angus and Jeff shake hands, smiling. Patrick smiles and applauds. People rush forward to congratulate them. One man wearing a derby hat pulls Jeff aside. I've seen some people commenting in the live chat that are going to love this. Sarah walks up to Angus.
Sorry about the other day.
You know, I think you may have just made it up to me.
She smiles and hugs him. Across the room, Roy's watching. He doesn't look angry, but sighs, puts his hat on, walks out.
What about Roy?
Well, he's gonna be busy with other things for a while.
Outside the courthouse, Roy walks out the front where many people are congregating, and in the street, the last few visitors are packing up and heading out, and he joins the marshals on their horses, who are doing the same. He gets on his horse and takes one last look around.
All right, let's go make me a marshal, boys.
He's getting to be a big guy. So they ride away. Over by a tree, Jeff is checking out the gears of a shiny new bicycle. As he looks at it, Susan Anna walks up behind him.
How are you feeling?
He sees her and stands up painfully. Ow.
A little woozy, but alive. Thank you.
That was a dumb thing you did.
In the courthouse or last night?
All of it.
So, Where's Herb?
Halfway to Dallas?
And you're not.
No, I'm not.
He looks at her hand. No ring. She smiles. He smiles back.
Case.
So Susan Anna looks behind her to see Patrick Case approaching, bags in hand.
I just wanted to say goodbye and thanks for all your hospitality.
No problem, sir.
By the way, I'm going back to New York. I can get you a ticket, help you find a place when you get there. That is, if you still want to go.
Jeff kind of looks at Susan Anna and then around the town. He sees Sarah and Angus walking together in front of the courthouse.
You kidding? I love this place.
Patrick kind of smiles and shakes his hand again.
Well, good luck to you.
You too.
Patrick tips his hat to Susan Anna and walks away, and she steps up to Jeff.
What was it you said about New York? That it had trains, bright lights, something about ribbons of chocolate?
He puts his hands around her waist.
Well, this town is something New York doesn't.
Yeah, what's that?
Pretty little cherubs.
Okay. I'm throwing you back in the ravine. You know I can do it.
Yeah, I know.
So he wraps his arms around her. They have their little big moment. They kiss. A good one, finally. Eventually, he breaks the kiss and he asks her,
You ever ridden a bicycle before?
She shakes her head no. He goes over to the bike.
Want to?
This is yours?
Yeah, some guy named Orville gave it to me just for telling him how the glider worked. Sucker.
She looks at the nameplate on it, and it reads Right Bicycles.
What?
What?
No.
Right bicycles? What would a bicycle maker care about flying?
I don't know. Shall we?
She climbs on behind him, and he takes off riding, though not very well. Susan Anna squeals and laughs as they zigzag through town. They ride past Angus and Sarah, who wave at them. Crane up. We began the movie with a crane down. Now we're craning up to see the entire town, now vibrant and colorful, as we fade to black. The end.
Yay! Woo! Woo!
Masturbation.
Golf
Sorry.
clap.
One last
Really?
time, masturbation.
Really,
Gotta get
guys? Come on.
I got
He
caught
wrote
up
the
in
words. I
moment.
just delivered them. You know, Joe, you can write this shit, but nobody can really say it. Huh? Get it? Like, get it? George Lucas? Never mind.
Oh, that was a George Lucas thing. Oh, okay.
Han Solo, I mean, Harrison Ford said it.
This is not the script. you're
Never
looking
mind.
for.
I was just talking about the masturbation line, not the script.
Oh, okay. All right.
All right. I'm going to go to my corner here and just be quiet.
So, yeah, I saw some people in the live chat kind of saying, like, what if Orville and Wilbur Wright walk in and steal all the plans and stuff? Well, there you go. You got it. That was my M.
I
Night Shyamalan
gave them
ending.
away for free because I'm a teenager.
Well, it would only work. It would only work if the guy playing Orville handing the bicycle off to Jeff is M. Night Shyamalan.
Right.
Window in his underwear.
Juno is not actually dead.
Very Spielberg.
Yeah, and he's voiced by Seth Rogen.
It was very Spielbergian, Joe. I liked it.
Oh, really? Oh,
It had a little Spielberg in it.
That's a
Huh?
bit.
What? You think Spielbergian is an insult?
No. I just.
Oh.
I don't think it's that.
That's
level,
how the
but-
tone was Spielbergian.
I picture 1985.
Oh yeah,
Somewhere
that's.
in 1980. Yeah.
Underscore
Wait, what was
this
it?
with a John
1940.
Williams.
What was the one that he did with Belushi in it?
1941.
1941. Yeah.
Oh,
and
yeah.
that was by far his worst film. So let's not-
That was the
No.
biggest bomb, if I'm not mistaken.
No. I've seen
I'm a
Indiana
bug!
Jones and the Legends of the Crystal Skulls.
That's true. Yeah.
It
Okay,
felt a
fair
bit Mel Brooksy to me. A little bit.
It's all
Not
in
quite
the-
so
in the way
soft.
it's
More
done,
like
I
Young
guess.
Oh yeah,
Frankenstein.
yeah. Really pump it up. That would be.
Yeah, if you pumped it up.
I mean, it's not quite Blazing Saddles, but
No.
Give it a Frau Blucher.
Robert Wayne says, "Everybody take a bow."
I'm just gonna say the cleavage is definitely Mel Brooks.
True.
Yes.
Yeah, that's true.
And Juno is Mel Brooks.
Roll in the hay.
I do love me some Mel Brooks. That's for sure.
I ain't got nobody.
Yeah, you were watching that last night, weren't you?
I was.
Okay, so I have a question for you real quick, Lena. Did you have where was your script? Because you were looking into the camera the whole time.
Oh,
Like a...
Well, next time I'll do a little masterclass. So you just you open a PDF on your computer and you put it right where your eye line would be, looking forward. And
Okay, so you're actually like going
looking
down a little bit.
Yeah, so you just kind of read.
Nice.
Yep.
I thought you were looking. I was like, did she memorize this whole thing? That's insane.
I did. Yes,
I mean, I know she's crazy
memorized
talented. But
it.
good lord.
God. Can you imagine? It'd be amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Only
just-
128 pages. I mean, what are you gonna do?
This is embarrassingly long, by the way. Like if I was to actually try to do something with it and submit it for like coverage or to a producer or something, like I would get laughed out of the room. That's just way too long.
It's easy to tighten up.
I will add the running thing where you made the crop circles. I feel like it should be the kids that were in on the body. Like somehow they get paid to make it.
Or just
But how
the
would you
Robinson
know?
kids, because they have no other purpose in the whole film. They're just kind of there. Like they could just be playing around in a field and see this random. Yeah, that makes more sense.
They're like smashing ants or something, whatever, you know.
With a magnifying glass.
No, that would start a fire in the field. But
True. That's true.
An opaque magnifying glass?
Oh, we still got 438 people watching. So there's
Wow.
438 people that sat through this whole thing.
And are sitting through our banter now.
Yeah.
You have
Hi,
fans.
everyone.
You have fans.
I think this is where you got to turn it up, Joe. You got to be
Yeah.
you got to be
Yeah.
Midnight Joe now.
This is Answers with Joe After Dark.
After dark.
Ooh.
Well, with the exception of some people that I'm seeing in the comments here, I forgot to say this earlier, but like if you are watching this, then you are like truly, I guess, a fan of the channel. And I have to say, like, I don't do a lot of live streams. I don't get a chance to like just communicate with the audience very much, but you guys have given me the greatest gift of all time, which is the ability to do this kind of stuff for a living. And I just, I can't thank you guys enough. I know there's only like 400 people watching right now, but you're the best.
437.
And I'm eternally grateful. So
Only.
moment of sincerity.
It's a good amount of people to be watching a live stream for 3.5 hours.
Almost 4.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
On a
so that
Saturday
only,
night,
only
Wednesday,
400, that's a lot of people.
Don't you know that there are movies that you can actually watch?
They're seeing the making of the next streaming content right here. You know, they're all gonna get together at the premiere and be like, "You guys remember when they did that thing live for 3 hours?" I hope this movie is a lot shorter than that.
So Joe, I visualized the whole flight over town thing.
Mm-hmm.
Very like that was your action sequence for the movie.
There's not a lot of like action or
I mean,
sci-fi stuff in it for it being a sci-fi-ish flick. So yeah,
Right,
that was your.
I'm
that was your
talking
set
about this is what I said Spielbergian. It's like think of Goonies. Think of this is their set piece thing. This is where they're flying over town. Where there's
It's E.T. if anything.
right. There's
Oh.
just everything is just like swelling and we see some action sequences. There water tower and people were awing and pointing at the sky and
it'd be a cool
Yeah.
sequence for sure. Yeah. So
Yeah.
you mentioned E.T. Did you get the E.T. reference?
Well, yeah, like at the end. Well, I don't know if it's probably elsewhere, but I know like right at the end where they're talking about flight and bicycles, and then there's it also involves aliens. So that made me think of ET. But
that's meta.
And Joe's
something
power
else,
just went out.
something I missed.
What were the two marshals' names?
Marshall.
Marshall.
Marshall Henry and Marshall Thomas?
Henry Thomas.
Henry Thomas.
Really?
Huh?
Gotcha.
You're not bad. You're not bad, Joe.
Not
You're
bad.
good. Not bad.
I was
Not
pretty
bad.
proud of that. But nobody caught it, so
No, I didn't catch it either. I caught Marshall.
I guess we
it's
just weren't
such a
looking.
dumb joke, but I love it.
I guess we just weren't looking.
That's okay.
I was reading the parts. I was
Right.
Yeah, I was too busy memorizing the entire script.
Yeah, that was impressive.
Thanks.
Well, if you're doing 3-hour plays, you got to memorize the whole thing.
Yeah, but you have a month to like learn it. You rehearse every day.
I only got a week for this one.
If you've ever run lines, you don't want to be you don't want to be around a person trying to memorize a script. It's not fun.
Oh no, yeah. Don't see how the sausage is made. This is kind of like maybe this is
Kinda.
just like bologna.
It's salami. Come on, give it that.
I would probably say this is more like a friend of mine gave me some beef jerky or some venison.
Homemade
jerky.
beef jerky. There you go.
He made some venison jerky, but it was shaped just like bologna patties, and so it looked like really old, disgusting bologna. But it was super tasty. Just
what was I going to say a second ago?
Oh, sorry, I derailed Joe with
No,
the
it's
disgusting bologna.
Don't forget about Team C's.
Couldn't have been
Hey,
that
guy.
impressive. But
There was the takeaway for me was masturbation.
masturbators and
And
fornicators, they all burn in hell.
Universally understood.
Yeah. Oh, here's what I was going to say. You were
And I
talking
had to
about
deliver that. I had to deliver that, huh?
You delivered this.
I think I gave you the juiciest part.
Appreciate you. On the sound clip, it's going to be masturbation, fornication. It's going to be like a little Giphy thing.
It rhymes.
We're gonna cut it into a trailer, and that's
It'll-
gonna be how you lead it off.
Or
Definitely
you can make
be
it
in
into
the
a
trailer.
song. Throw a nice
It'll definitely be
little,
in
nice,
the
put a
trailer.
nice little
Remix
bass
it.
line under it.
Oh my God, remix it. Yes.
And of course, there were some comments in there about mastication.
Well, I was trying to do it with an accent.
Masturbation.
Masturbation. Yeah, that's right.
You got to do it with a real Texas accent there. You got to get down there and get some masturbation.
Yeah, my Texas accent was pretty bad.
Over at the most, it's them students over at the most Texas named high school in the history of Texas, W.T. White.
So I spent pretty much Thursday kind of going through the script and basically just managed to make it longer. But I was at the coffee shop that I always go to. And it's been two things. It's been so long since I've actually worked on a screenplay. Like I crank out video scripts all the time, and it's been so long since I sat down with a screenplay. And I when I left the coffee shop and I was driving home, I was like in a good mood, and I couldn't figure out why I was in such a good mood. And I was like, I really love this stuff. Like I like making the videos. It's great, but there's just something else about like creating characters and building worlds and like stepping into like conversations and relationships and stuff. And it just kind of like, I really love this. But the other thing was, as I'm at the coffee shop, I work in coffee shops all the time for the videos and whatnot. Not the best idea for screenplays, because I was always like. You're like,
So
I can't not externalize it as I'm.
It's the whole game of somebody writing a screenplay or crazy person.
Yeah. It's one and the
Or
same
both.
usually.
Both. Little of both.
Both,
Yeah.
little both, yeah.
I
So you
found
should,
that as an actor wearing a mask walking around on the street, I was talking to myself quite a bit, and it didn't matter because no one could see that my mouth was moving. That I was
Yes.
doing lines,
Yes.
you know.
It's
But
in
it
the
had
eyes,
this
though.
to just
Yeah,
like
it's-
cover it,
It's in the eyes,
right?
the crazy eyes.
I have a really bad habit of talking to myself. If there's nobody else in the room, I'm having some kind of conversation with somebody else in my brain, and I have a tendency for that to slip out in public. So the mask thing's been kind of great. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or just put an earbud in, and people think you're talking to someone. You're actually just.
Well, I mean, I've done that before too, where I've had headphones on and I've been running lines with myself on the tape. So
In a coffee shop.
no, but I was in a hotel in Hawaii, and my cousin's new husband hadn't met me yet,
Mm.
and I was in the other room running lines for Lady Windermere's fan, and he heard me yelling at
Mrs. Erlin and
He's like, man, he's really into Downton Abbey. I don't know what.
Yeah, he was like, he really doesn't like Mrs. Erlin. Who is she?
Also, I realized just now that there's a couple of things I forgot to say at the beginning, and I feel bad because there were a lot more people watching at the beginning. But Lena, you have your own YouTube channel where people can watch you perform music.
Yes.
It's Lena Hall Obsessed. So if you guys want to go listen to some very good music from a very great performer. Kimmy is a Twitch streamer as well. So you got a Twitch channel. Kim
Do.
Lisi.
Yes. Stream 3 times a week.
If you do the Twitch thing, go check her out. It's not just me here, people. It's all of these guys too. It's everybody.
I'm not a great content creator. I'm not great for like YouTube, you know. I did like some of it, and then I was like that's hard to keep up
Oh yeah.
all the time.
Schedule,
Like
yeah.
that requires more people than just myself.
Thank you, Kimmy, and thank you, Kimmy and Nick.
Yeah, exactly.
Y'all are talented. You have a good thing going, Joe.
Oh, thank you.
You were my best friend while I was trapped in Vancouver. But you didn't
Yeah,
even know
that
it.
was a story. It was if I'm saying this right, you were stuck up there because of COVID when it first hit, and you just kind of like discovered my channel while you were stuck up there.
Yeah, well, we were filming season 3 of Snowpiercer at the beginning of this year, and the borders weren't open, so I couldn't go anywhere. My husband couldn't come and see me. I couldn't leave, trapped for 5 months, and I was also isolated as well. So I was talking to myself a lot at that point. But then I found your channel and like just started listening and watching it like every day, and just had the street, the videos just go one after another, and then you became like my weird best friend in Vancouver. Like you helped keep me sane. It was weird and hard to be so isolated for so long.
Blushing over there, Joe.
Yeah, I imagine.
Good
yeah.
you.
Yeah.
Good job.
That is
So
the
thank you.
weirdest thing about doing the channel is the people that tell me that like I don't know, it's helped them in some way. Like it's not my primary motive. I'm just trying to do some cool
Make
videos.
money.
But like you just never know how when you put yourself out there how it's gonna ripple out to other people. That's the
This is
message,
true.
kids.
Why we do it?
Yeah. Well, let's go ahead and wrap this up, I think, because I'm kind of sweating in here with these lights on. But if you guys want to hang around real quick, we can kind of wrap up. But I was going to go ahead and stop the live stream. I wanted to thank again everybody who watched. I hope you enjoyed it. Hope it was at least fun. It was long, but for those of you who stuck it out, I can't thank you enough. I just hope it was fun. But thanks again to you guys. And we got a video coming out on Monday. It's a little different from the norm because I was spending a whole lot of time on this, but it'll still be pretty fun, I think. But thanks you guys for watching. Thanks for all who contributed. It looks like right now it's got about $1,000, but that will be going to Team C. So he's got 1,000 pounds of trash out of the ocean. So yes, cool. But anyway, good night, everyone. Thank you for being here and signing.
Good night, everybody.
Good night. Thanks for
Good
coming.
night.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Especially you, Ben.